Alguien además de mí está cansado de vivir a través de toda esta historia que estamos creando y viviendo, recesiones, pandemias y no sé qué. Yo ya estoy cansado, no quiero vivir en la historia. ¿Por qué no podemos vivir en tiempos donde absolutamente nada pasa? El día de hoy quiero platicar con ustedes de la nueva pandemia que nos está tirando el WHO, que en español es la OMS, la Organización Mundial de Salud, por supuesto, porque nos vuelven a decretar una emergencia sanitaria internacional por la viruela del mono, damas y caballeros. Y antes de eso, vamos a platicar también de por qué nos están diciendo eso. Vamos a analizar exactamente todo. Antes de ello, quiero decirles a todos ustedes, para los que están aquí por el Casino del Tío Salo, bienvenidos. Alex y Farhan están aquí. Estamos listos para darles todo. No vamos a empezar con el análisis de Bitcoin, vamos a empezar analizando todas las tablas que nos están mandando en el chat, una por una y una por persona, para poder ir lo más rápido posible, porque nos hemos dado cuenta que nos tardamos bastante en nuestro análisis. Eso lo vamos a cargar después para llevarlo solamente a la gente que es miembro de Elite Trading Academy. Y también les dejo el enlace aquí abajo para todos ustedes degenerados que gusten acompañarnos y volverse miembros de Elite Trading Academy en nuestro Discord. Es absolutamente gratis. Hay más de 2,000 degenerados ahí y todos le echan la mano a todos. Así que, sin más ni más, empecemos con el notición el día de hoy, damas y caballeros. Vean nada más. La OMS vuelve a decretar la emergencia sanitaria internacional por la viruela de mono. ¡Wow! Cuidado, señores. La expansión en África de una nueva variante aparentemente más letal que la viruela del mono, rebautizada como Mpox, ha llevado este miércoles a la Organización Mundial de Salud, la OMS, como lo habíamos dicho, a declarar la emergencia de salud pública de importancia internacional. Es la segunda vez que el organismo activa el máximo nivel de alerta que prevé el Reglamento Sanitario Internacional por esta enfermedad y la octava en la historia. O sea, si me estamos hablando de vivir en eventos completamente locos, aquí lo tienen. La decisión ha sido unánime entre los miembros del Comité de Emergencia del OMS, eso quiere decir entre Bill Gates y todos sus donadores. La detección y rápida propagación del nuevo clado variante del Mpox está en la República Democrática del Congo. Su detección en países vecinos que no lo habían reportado anteriormente y el potencial de una mayor propagación dentro de África y más allá es muy preocupante, ha dicho como se llama ese güey, Adhanom Tedros Ghebreyesus, como se diga, director general de la OMS. Y lo dijo en una rueda de prensa, se une a otros brotes de otros clados, de otras variantes de Mpox en otras partes de África. Está claro que una respuesta internacional debe salir. Por supuesto que sí, todo el mundo está aterrado y en este momento nos tenemos que preguntar todos, ¿qué tenemos que hacer? ¿Qué va a pasar? Número uno, recuerden que todos los países han hecho y declarado, más bien cambiado todas las reglas del juego en su país para poder hacer lo que absolutamente se les hinchen las bolas con la gente, con la política monetaria cuando declaran una de estas cosas. Ahora, ¿deberíamos de preocuparnos de esta viruela de mono que viene de África? La realidad es que personalmente no lo creo, porque ¿quién le va a hacer caso a estos tíos? Lo que están tirando enfrente de nosotros en este momento es miedo, confusión y además muchísimas noticias para que todo el mundo esté friqueado y no esté volteando a ver los lugares correctos. ¿Y a qué me refiero con voltear a ver los lugares correctos? Déjenme rápidamente les pongo esta historia encima a todos ustedes porque quiero que entiendan esto. Aquí tenemos cinco preguntas de la invasión de Ucrania al territorio ruso, ¿no? Y aquí básicamente lo que nos dice es que Ucrania está haciendo y cometiendo ataques dentro del territorio ruso. ¿Saben cuándo fue la última vez que un país atacó a Rusia? ¿Alguien sabe? Se llama la Segunda Guerra Mundial, damas y caballeros, en su propio territorio. Eso fue lo que pasó. Están intensificando los conflictos armados en Israel, entre Israel y todo el Medio Oriente, y también estamos intensificando la guerra con Rusia y Ucrania. ¿Por qué? Si de todas maneras se va a perder esa guerra, ¿por qué lo estamos haciendo? Recuerden que cuando está en un estado de guerra, algún país puede declarar que no haya elecciones, como el mismísimo Volodymyr Zelensky en Ucrania. Zelensky en Ucrania no tuvo que ir a reelección, no tuvo que ir a absolutamente ningún tipo de votación una vez que su periodo como presidente acabó porque está en guerra. Y por ende se puede quedar, no tiene que haber elecciones, etcétera. En este momento sabemos que en Estados Unidos no hay nada que le fascinaría más a la gente en poder que poder quedarse ahí. Y hemos visto todas las cosas que están haciendo. Pero ¿Esto en verdad simplemente es para esconder esto? Yo creo que son muchas cosas lo que están escondiendo. Número uno, el catástrofe económico mundial. Mucha gente no lo está hablando, pero es una realidad. Casi todo el mundo está entrando en recesión, tíos. Casi todo el planeta está entrando en recesión propia. Estamos viendo que la industria del acero en China se está yendo, pero al nepe, y eso quiere decir que no están construyendo, que no hay nuevo crecimiento, etcétera. Es algo que sabemos de China por cómo están descentralizando su población, llevándosela a otros lugares del mundo para crear nuevos lugares donde pueden ellos mismos producir internacionalmente a mejores costos, específicamente África. Y también esto permitiría, recuerden, a Estados Unidos a meter mano en todo lo que es África, para poder evitar el crecimiento de estas pequeñas comunidades chinas que están por todo ahí, para hacer todas las porquerías que estamos haciendo. Entonces tenemos la economía cayéndose en el nepe. Tenemos a un presidente en Estados Unidos que no funciona su cerebro, porque está muy viejo, honestamente, y tenemos la cosa más asquerosa del mundo, que es el mismo Partido Demócrata en Estados Unidos diciéndonos que tenemos que defender la democracia, que es el chiste más grande que cualquiera puede contar, cuando acaban de tener sus mismas elecciones de partido ser las menos democráticas que ha habido. El ticket pasado que le pertenecía a Bernie Sanders también se lo quitaron. Entonces, eso de que estamos protegiendo la democracia no es cierto. ¿Por qué instalan a Kamala Harris y todavía no le están dando todos estos empujes, más allá de decir que está ganándole a Trump de la nada? ¿Por qué lo están haciendo? Porque no saben si va a ser la candidata de verdad. Hay algo aquí que se está cocinando en medio que no sabemos qué sea, pero sí sabemos esto. Sabemos que le acabamos de dar 20,000 millones de dólares a Israel, le acabamos de dar otros 3,000 y cacho millones también, o sea, en total casi 25,000 millones de dólares a Israel. Sabemos que le vamos a dar más dinero a Ucrania. Sabemos que la gente en Estados Unidos está quebrando, los negocios están cayendo. Lo podemos ver cuando en el 2008 McDonald's se volvió la sensación económica porque todo el mundo iba a comer McDonald's porque no alcanzaba para nada más porque estamos en recesión. En esta recesión es tan buena que ni siquiera cuenta. Y no nada más no cuenta, a la gente ni siquiera le alcanza para ir a McDonald's. Así que no es lo mismo. Esto es mucho peor. Todo eso es de lo que están intentando distraerte en este momento. Y también de las porquerías, porque no sé si se acuerden, también intentaron matar al candidato a la presidencia Donald Trump, que es el expresidente de Estados Unidos también. Lo intentaron matar y como si fuera nada y nada pasara y siguen con sus mamadas. También estamos viendo cómo la Unión Europea, el Reino Unido, está colapsando socialmente hablando con todas estas revueltas que están teniendo y toda la ley que están poniendo encima de, para que si ustedes se atreven a compartir algo del Reino Unido o gente en el Reino Unido y su policía puedan venir a arrestarnos. Estamos ante la más grande, el cambio más grande que hemos visto en la historia en cuanto a política se refiere de nuestro lado del mundo, y lo están haciendo poniendo todas estas pendejaditas enfrente de nosotros. Entonces, ¿nos deberíamos de preocupar brutalmente por la pandemia y por todo esto? No. Lo que más debería es preocuparnos, como siempre, y esto es lo que les digo, es, uno, dense cuenta que no existe la democracia, que el mismo Partido Demócrata que está pidiendo, ay, no pueden votar por Trump, se acabaría la democracia. Ellos mismos han destruido la palabra democracia dentro de su país, de su partido, así que muchísimas felicidades a esos genios. Tenemos también el hecho de que Joe Biden tiene 1,000 millones de años, que no funciona su cerebro y que lo seguimos teniendo ahí de presidente y que todavía no ponemos a Kamala oficialmente enfrente de todos. ¿Por qué? ¿Qué es lo que está esperando el Partido Demócrata o, como le dicen, ¿no? al Estado profundo en Estados Unidos, que es básicamente el FBI, la CIA y todas estas organizaciones de 3 letras que son las que mandan en realidad, ¿no? No el presidente. Ellos, ¿qué están calentando? ¿Qué están planeando? Algo viene, va a venir un rescate económico a cierto punto también, porque de verdad lo que estamos viendo en este momento con la deflación no es algo chido. Por más que queramos ver precios bajar, va a estar bueno, vamos a ver precios bajar, pero no vas a ver precios bajar en básicos. La idea es poder mantener a la mayor cantidad de gente en hambruna, también que les dé problemas de salud para que siga el negocio de Estados Unidos. Entonces, cuando volteamos a ver el escenario político, ¿no? Decimos, pues bueno, si Estados Unidos mismo está intentando matar a un candidato, está forzando a otro candidato a ser el candidato del partido que nadie votó por, pues mejor distráiganse con la viruela del mono que viene para agarrar a todo el mundo cogido y vienen las nuevas vacunas. No es cierto. No se me preocupen por estas tonterías para nada. Lo que debería de preocuparnos es entender que nos están robando el sistema político, que nos están quitando la ilusión de la democracia, que no existía desde el principio, pero lo están haciendo aún peor, que nos están obligando a censurar en todo el mundo todo lo que está ocurriendo y los conflictos internos que tienen como Reino Unido, la Unión Europea, etcétera, en este momento. Eso es lo importante. Y obviamente nos están robando todo nuestro dinero a través del complejo industrial militar, con todas estas guerras, con todo ese dinero delicioso que estamos imprimiendo, porque recuerden, estos 23 mil millones de dólares que le vamos a dar a Israel no se los estamos dando, estamos dándonos a nosotros, a nuestras empresas armamentísticas. Es como si hubiéramos visto Lockheed Martin y todas estas empresas subir como locas por nada, y de la nada tomen 20 y tantos mil millones de dólares para ustedes. Eso es lo que estamos viviendo en este momento. No estas payasadas de que la viruela del mono y no sé qué. Y la otra cosa que a todo el mundo nos tienen distraída de, quieren crear, o lo que están diciendo es que va a haber una huelga de trabajadores en el puerto más grande de Estados Unidos para recibir comercio internacional, y eso es lo que está haciendo que literalmente, y lo que va a hacer que Walmart, que todas estas cadenas grandes vayan a no tener tantas cosas que vender, por lo que los precios van a subir en vez de colapsar. Esto ya lo hicieron enfrente de todas sus caras y se los dije que era completamente fabricado con lo de la unión de los coches. ¿Qué pasó después? ¿No colapsaron todos los precios de los coches? La unión de Hollywood. ¿Qué pasó después? No colapsaron absolutamente todos los estudios de Hollywood. Y ahora nos toca con todo lo que se refiere a movimiento y logística de nuestra comida. Así que prepárense para ello. Eso es lo que deberíamos de estar preocupados. Eso, y que toda esta gente que está a cargo en este momento es incompetente y deberíamos de cambiarla. Siempre lo voy a decir y lo voy a seguir repitiendo acá, porque el sistema como tal no funciona. No importa a qué lado le vayas, estos políticos son unos rateros de mierda, y en vez de robarse el dinero creando obras que beneficien a la gente, como cualquier persona pensante se imaginaría que les encantaría hacer, porque construir casas para los vagabundos, chido, Gavin Newsom, muy chido. Felicidades, se ve chido, obviamente están vacías y todos tus amigos se llevaron todo ese dinero. Pero ¿por qué no construyes desalinizadoras cuando no tienes agua? Aquí en California le puedes dar toda esa agua a todo el mundo y te quedas con toda la lana de que te robes de lo que te den de vuelta a la gente que hizo las desalinizadoras, como si estuvieras haciendo literalmente el programa para los vagabundos. El problema es que estos programas para vagabundos y estas cosas que nos están vendiendo les dan muchísimo más dinero en diferentes oportunidades y además los ayuda en diferentes cosas con los votantes. Así que es todo lo que les quería decir el día de hoy. Nos preocupamos por por la viruela del mono, y eso suena muy pervertido, ¿no? Si no le vayan a hablar a su mujer, oye, mi amor, ¿tienes la viruela del mono? No creo que sea lo mismo, no creo que aplique en este momento. Entonces, no se la coman enterita, por el amor de Dios. Están distrayéndonos de toda la mierda que están haciendo y el robadero que se están dando, y además la pelea por poder que se están dando entre ellos, intentando asesinar a un candidato a la presidencia, que a todo el mundo ya se le olvidó por todas estas noticias pendejas. Eso es todo lo que les quería decir. Esto fue lo que nadie me preguntó. Me llamo Alejandro Salomón y ahora vamos a ir, damas y caballeros, al casino del tío Salo directamente desde acá. Para toda la gente que nunca lo ha visto, que no le interesa, pues bueno, lo que va a pasar es voy a traer a Farhan, a Alex, platicamos en inglés y yo les traduzco todo a español después. El análisis es traducido por su tío Salo, así que están aprendiendo de los cracks, no de mí, no se preocupen. Yo sé que nadie quiere aprender del contraindicador favorito de todo el mundo, así que voy a traer estos perros encima y vámonos, ¿cómo de que no? Empezando el casino del tío Salo una vez más. El enlace para el Discord está aquí abajo, y para todos los que se pregunten qué tan difícil es manejar el Discord y todo esto, honestamente no es nada difícil. Simplemente vas a entrar al Discord. Aquí tienes el análisis de Alejandro a la izquierda, tienes el de Farhan, tienes nuestros enlaces por si estás buscando un exchange donde tradear. Somos socios de BitGet, también de Bluffing. BitGet es internacional para todo el mundo, menos en Estados Unidos, y requiere KYC. Bluffing es internacional para todo el mundo, también funciona en Estados Unidos y no requiere KYC. Tiene los fees un poco más altos que BitGet, pero pues, güey, es lo que guías. O también, si gustan empezar a tradear y abrir su cuenta de TradingView, aquí lo tienen, aquí está en Partners. También acá vengan a decir hola como todos. Tenemos las pedidas de las tablas que está buscando la gente. Compartimos noticias. Aquí están. Este perro se llevó en Pepe 282%. Nadie se va a enojar contigo. Nadie se va a enojar contigo. Y acá tenemos el chat general. Un saludo a toda la banda que estamos por acá. Vale, sin más ni más, Elite Trading Academy. Estamos acá. Farhan, Alex, welcome, my boys. How are you, Farhan?
I'm doing. I just remembered.
I saw you. I saw you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing? Are you guys enjoying the Bitcoin crash today?
Doing great. Doing great.
Can I tell you something? Donald Trump told me to have fun with my Bitcoin. I'm not having fun with my Bitcoin.
I'm not having a lot of fun either.
Am I doing something wrong here?
I think they're giving us the red dildos with no lube.
I want a refund, boys. That's what I want. I need a refund.
Yeah, you know what I'm going to be doing later today? I'm going to be calling up JP Morgan and say there was a couple of unauthorized transactions on my account from crypto.com.
That's a good way to go. That's a great way to go. People do that to me all the time with the watches. After they get their money back. That's why I stopped selling them Mexico. Yeah, in Mexico it does. Yeah.
That's crazy.
But today is interesting. I mean, we had CPI in the morning. You know, all eyes were on that, and you know it's a big event, and everything came on par in my as what we saw, except for that year-over-year CPI. You know, it's 2.9%. Expectation was 3%. What's that basically is telling me is we are getting that disinflation narrative, which makes sense. So it's interesting then, right? Because then the thesis that you've been talking about, Alejandro, is disinflation. Is it bullish for Bitcoin? And right now today is saying otherwise, and not even if we look at Bitcoin, but what's the biggest inflation hedge that everyone knows of? Gold. And it's interesting to see, stocks are doing okay, the indices are okay, but Bitcoin and gold is kind of red today. So that's interesting. It's giving more fuel to that narrative that not many are talking about.
Another thing with the CPI that people who like to carry water for the current administration pushes it is like, oh, we have 2.9% CPI inflation. And the Fed's rate, goal is to get it under 3% inflation. But you have to remember, this is 2.9% from the last month over. So inflation is still going up. It's just going up a little bit less than it was going up before.
Yeah, and to me, what's interesting about inflation, it's more the way that it's working in the dynamics of the market, because we're seeing definitely deflation across the board in non-essentials. Like, you want to buy a car? Dude, go fucking have at it right now. Shit's so cheap. You want to go buy a house? In 50% of the country, you can get a fucking deal already, but you want to wait. You know what I mean? So that's coming down. You want to go to Target and spend some money? Everything is 30% off. Dude, go to fucking IKEA and build yourself a house. 30% off instantly on all the prices. So this is deflation, and this is something that's going to destroy a lot of companies, right? And their earnings are going to be fucking horrendous for a long time. So there needs to be something. Something needs to happen in order for us to kill this trend. And the problem once you get into deflation, because this is not disinflation. Disinflation is when what you're seeing, like the number of inflation come down. Deflation, it's when it gets into pricing and prices go down like crazy. And that's what we're seeing just on non-essentials. And today we saw Alex shared with us that they're going to go on strike in one of the biggest logistics point in the United States. And who's that affecting directly?
Everybody, Walmart, major consumers, everybody who does all the biggest shipping containers, all of their inventory, everything is going to be delayed. Everything's going to be more expensive. Yeah.
So they're trying everything they can to hold prices up within all of the show, and they're creating all of these. They're breaking all of these different dynamics in the economy so they can get what they want, which is higher prices. But sadly, they're not going to last for a long time, and that's when people are going to realize. Either way, I think today we're going to skip the Bitcoin analysis and we're going to go straight into the charts for these guys, so we can get as many people as possible served with the information that they're looking for. And let's get going. I have a really interesting to start. Are you boys ready? You've never seen this chart before.
Let's see it.
Nvidia.
Nvidia.
Who's going to start?
Good old trusty Nvidia. Whoever wants to start, you boys tell me. I'm going to go put my chart. Nvidia. I'm looking at it right now. Ooh.
Here, I'll pull it up. Let me see.
Oh, I'm getting that thing again where my indicators don't show up. It'll take a second for me to clear that.
No worries.
Sounds
Mine are up.
Well, here goes the man. All right, Alex, all you.
Nice. So Nvidia is an interesting one. It's something I've been watching to kind of gauge more risk on. It's kind of like how I use Bitcoin, but I think Nvidia has been kind of somewhat better in the metrics of stock and more tech So what I see on the daily here, I want to start on the daily. Remember, we've been watching videos since I drew this here. This was the potential lower high we talked about, forming that lower low. Now, right now, what I see is there is structure here, and this looks potentially, like a big deviation. You see, we lost support, quickly got bought up, rejected the 9, came down as in a trap, back tested support, and we've kind of been off to the races now. Now, today is interesting because you see we did reclaim support. Now this daily candle though it's not the best looking. And I say that just because it's giving me almost like toppy vibes. I don't have the exact the candle, I guess, formation of what this could be, but it's never good when you have a red daily long wick body, but it closes a red head, in my opinion. But I guess the hopium here is you are well above the daily EMA 100, which is a very key. It's basically a big spot I've been mentioning on this chart. Through this whole rally, Nvidia really hasn't tested that too much. Last time it really did was in October of 2023. So this daily EMA 100 getting reclaimed is extremely crucial for bulls. That's step one. They've reclaimed the daily EMA 9, which is great, and now we're above what was resistance, now support. And how it looks now, it wouldn't surprise me if we go to that 126, 125 region. That's gonna be a very, very key, in my opinion. Are we gonna break potentially the daily structure and potentially run these highs here, which was, in my opinion, the last lower high before the lower low? Potentially. And unfortunately, even if we've had these nice rallies and the EMAs are reclaimed, I still feel like we have to respect trend on this chart. And that's kind of my opinion overall, just across the market. The weekly is looking quite good though, and this closes in 2 days, so this will be quite interesting to see. If this gets reclaimed, because we see the last time that the EMA 9 on the weekly got reclaimed after it was lost was basically here. Big deviation down, quickly got reclaimed based on it as support, and then we were able to go back to new highs. So getting back above that will be a really good sign, and it can give bulls more legs to potentially break the trend. And a big also point is the Nasdaq overall is looking great, but right, if you look to its weekly, it is at resistance. So we have to be mindful of that. That's more of a gauge on like the tech sector, but Nvidia overall is looking good. It would not surprise me if we see kind of a bounce here, as long as we have support holding at $116. That's the level. I don't see why we couldn't press up here, this resistance at 126. And then there's going to be really, key. Do we keep rejecting this, form a lower high, roll over, and this will be the lower low right at this $82 area? Maybe. And we have to think like this because the trend is still down, in my opinion. If we go more lower time frames, let me check the 4-hour. The 4-hour, again, is solidifying what I've been saying on the daily. Looks good, above the 4-hour EMA 100, which was a big spot for Nvidia. It kept doing the dance around it, rejecting, came down, but it reclaimed it and even back tested it. Looking great overall. And what I like too about those 4 hours, we're getting this 9 pressing right where that 4-hour EMA 100 is, solidifying to me that on the 4-hour, it's a big spot. What we don't want is a big deviation down. Won't look good. But if it can hold, even if it comes down, but like wicks and bounces from here, it would look great. Basically back test the 9 while holding the EMA 100. So I would watch this 126,
Nice.
$125 region. We break that and back test that 126, $125 region to support. Cool. Now I'm focused on this last high rejection here that we had on July 11th. We can break this high. That to me, structure is broken on the daily, and we can now look to potentially along the higher low. But until then, we have to look at this chart as potentially still putting in lower highs. Hopium on the midterm would be, we break this high here, which will probably give me more yeah. That'll give me a confirmation only that we're probably going to press to the 126 more. But overall, looking great. Lower time frames confirm it. Watch that 120 region though. What could happen here is maybe we go up. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to come and reject, right? It doesn't have to mean like that. What could mean is this: we start actually forming more in this wedge before we go to the breakout. So that could happen, or we could get a breakdown. It's very easy though to trade this because you have the levels and you know where you're wrong. If I were to short this, my stop would just be this high here. Simple, but I would definitely short the extremity high here. So that's kind of where I'm looking at. Looks bouncy though. Wouldn't surprise me if we did get a bounce to like that 126.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Let me share with everybody now. Let's go. And Farhan, get UWMC ready. UWMC. Ok. Vamos rápidamente a platicar de Nvidia en español. Podemos ver la estructura que está formando. Les voy a enseñar un poco la semanal simplemente para que vean de dónde viene. Ha sido un súper pompazo, como de que no. Y vamos a ver rápidamente la diaria. En la diaria hemos visto que encontramos este tope y estamos encontrándonos con esta resistencia en la parte de arriba. Lo que también estamos viendo es que estamos creando bajos más bajos, junto con altos más bajos. Esto es una tendencia local bajista. Lo que estamos esperando que el precio haga es simplemente, y déjenme simplemente pongo para que vean, en la diaria hemos recuperado el EMA 9. Cuando volteamos a ver el 100 está bastante abajo y lo retomamos. Y cuando volteamos a ver el SMA 200, que es a más larga duración, está por ahí de los $83. El precio de Nvidia en este momento está en los 116. Está en los $118. El post está a $1 abajito, no es nada de qué preocuparse. Pero cuando volteamos a ver este tipo de velas, por ejemplo, esta es una vela que normalmente le diríamos que es un hammerhead, que se ve bastante alcista. No, porque es lo que te indica que, pues bueno, pudo haber sido el final de esto y va para arriba, pero es roja. Esta es una vela engañosa como tu mujer, cabrón. Así que ojo aquí. Cuando volteamos a ver timeframes más cercanos, digamos el de 4 horas, por ejemplo, estamos viendo cómo tenemos la confluencia, el EMA 100, el EMA 9 acá y el 200 que lo perdimos por un segundo y lo volvimos a retomar en la de 4 horas. ¿Qué estamos esperando? Sencillo. Si eres un alcista en Nvidia, ¿qué es lo que quieres? Quieres volver el día de mañana y empezar a cerrar arriba de acá y romper este alto que está en los 120.24. Una vez que rompes eso, te podría empezar a dar tantito hopium de que esto puede subir más. Puede que lleguemos aquí y te rechace instantáneamente para abajo, pero también puede que esto empiece a ranguear por acá, ranguear, y luego te dé un breakout hacia arriba. No es tan difícil tradear esto, honestamente está bastante fácil, sobre todo cuando estás viendo este tipo de niveles. Una confirmación y cierre arriba de los 120 te va a decir que probablemente vayas a buscar los 127. Pero ojo, si aquí rompes a la alza, pero no rompes este alto de los 135, muy probablemente el precio vaya a revertir y volver a caer. Tienen que mantenerse pendientes a ver qué se puede hacer por acá. Si vas a hacer un short, obviamente quieres usar este alto como referencia para poner tu stop loss. Y si vas a hacer un long, quieres simplemente tener este nivel bien asegurado antes de cualquier locura que vayas a cometer. Vale, pues. Ahí está Nvidia. Farhan's going to bring us UWMC. Wait, you're muted.
I'm muted. I'm getting better at it.
You are, my friend.
All right, so right now we're looking at, I'm going to start it on the weekly, and it is looking
right
now.
I'm sorry. This is my bad. Go on.
Oh, you're good. We're looking at it on the weekly right now. It is looking insanely bullish, but the reason why I would advise caution here is that based on the HPDR, we were hitting the 95% range. So whenever we hit these levels here, you have to subtract that from 100, and that is a percentage chance that you have to close above this level. So you have a 95% chance that this area would reject and it would not close below versus that it would go above. We are above several of the meme lines that I've drawn. What I would like to see to keep the bullish hopium alive is somewhere consolidated around here, maybe have these levels move up, and at that point, like one of these, we could possibly retest this meme line. If we do, it's not going to be the strongest thing, but it would still be considered healthy, and it would be another higher low. What I would look for is that this 6% level would rise up to this previous candle close and this rejective high, and then we can base off of that area before we get another move up. Right now, our momentum indicators are still pointed up, but they're getting to the very extreme levels. Volatility is getting to very extreme levels, and the jewel is right now giving us a perfect buy signal, where the pink is above the yellow and the blue is above the pink, and they're all bunched up together. This is basically the ideal picture perfect signal this indicator can give you. Like there's absolutely nothing that you could get that would look better than this on the Jewel. But that still doesn't say that you should not look for caution, because what would normally happen when you get these signals is that you get up to the bullish control zone where you did right here, you get a little bit of a rejection and you base off. But at this point, we did not have this type of Jewel signal that we have right now. So what I would be looking for is that it to reject somewhere around here, maybe consolidate, maybe make another high or low somewhere around there. And then I would look for that to expand on this Jewel signal, and then I could get a target from there based off of FIB extensions. And I would say it would be, I'll go from this one because this one's already closed. Usually you like to use the closures versus the current candle, which is not closed yet, because you don't know where this candle is going to go by the closure. So you would get a target.
So you start on the red candle.
Yeah, I started on this previous closing
on the green one.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So that would give us a target if we can break this area after consolidation. That gives a target right around $10.50. We're from the Jewel signal that we're getting right now. That would be how much of a percentage move? We got it over here, up to $10. Yeah, that would be somewhere. Lost it.
I mean, a move of $1 in basically a $10 price starting at 9, it's going to be around 12, 13.
From the start of the Jewel signal to the Fibonacci target that I'm getting is around 30% of a move.
Yeah,
which to be honest, like it seems like a lot, but based off of this Jewel signal, I think that's very reasonable to look at. The last thing I want to see is the divergences. If we have any divergences on this, UWMC. If we have any type of bearish divergence right here, this would also align with the my thesis that we would probably consolidate.
Yeah.
Go to the weekly. So we are making a higher high here on the RSI. I mean the price action, with a lower high on the RSI, which does give us a very, very slight drive bearish divergence, which is not confirmed yet. The only way to confirm it is we would have to get a close below this candle open, which right now is $8.39. So if we do get a close below that would confirm our consolidation. Right now, we've already tested to the 9, which was our easy target. If we do confirm this bearish divergence, we would most likely come back down and test this edge of the bullish control zone, which right now is at $8.04 exactly. At that point, I would most likely, based off of the Jewel signal and this VMP signal. The VMP is the same thing as the Jewel, but it adds a volatility aspect to it as well, which shows you volatility increasing with the Jewel giving you a buy signal. So right now, the volatility is increasing with that as well. So I would expect this bullish control zone area to hold, and then to make a base there and move up to that $10 target that we were looking at earlier before. And on the same hand, you see volatility moving up as well. So and not only is volatility moving up, but it's nowhere near extreme levels on the Bollinger Bands with percentile. This one is only at 64%. Usually, this type of stock likes to max out somewhere around the high 80% range. So we still have another 20% to go before we're even close to getting an actual rejection or a consolidation on the volatility. We still have a silver cross on here on the weekly. We have the 21 crossing the 55, and we're holding the 21 beautifully here on this rejection. I mean, this correction. Now we're holding the 9, which is exactly what you want to see on a silver cross. The only way to negate the silver cross right now or to invalidate it completely is you would want to close below this 55, which is at $6.75. It would not look very good if you got down here, but technically it would still be alive. The first signal, if you're less of an aggressive trader, is that you would look at the 21. Because if we close below the 21, because we've already tested it before, it's going to be significantly weaker now. So if we close below it again, very likely we will also close below the 55. But if you were like one of those more aggressive traders and you want to add more risk, then this is the place where you would your final last stand would be to be invalidated on your idea of this silver cross. But for now, it's still looking bullish, but I'm thinking we're going to consolidate or go down a little bit before it moves up again.
Very, very nice, sir. Thank you so much. Let's see, Alex, so I can get you going on something. Novavax.
Cool. Novavax. What's the ticker symbol?
I have no idea. You just added Novavax. Novavax. Let me just put this for everyone in Spanish. In Spanish. Ok, estamos viendo la tabla semanal de UWMC. ¿Qué es UWMC? Es UWMC Holdings Corporations, que nos dice que hace wholesale mortgage lender. Entonces, esto tiene que ver con hipotecas, vale. Sin meternos en detalle, no sabemos el negocio, no hay tanto historial en el precio, empieza en abril hasta ahorita. Esto es una visión de la semanal. En este momento lo que estamos viendo y lo que vio Farhan esta es una tabla bastante alcista, obviamente. ¿Por qué es alcista? Y rápidamente se los digo para que todo el mundo lo esté viendo. Tienes bajos, 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 bajos más altos, 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 altos más altos. Esto es una clara tendencia alcista, sin lugar a dudas, y se ve muy bien. Lo único que, bueno, para empezar, el Joule tiene una señal de compra bastante potente, pero cuando volteas a ver el HPDR, que me parece que es como se llama el indicador que usa Farhan, estamos en la zona del 95%. Cuando estás en la zona del 95% acá, eso quiere decir que está sobrevendido, ¿no? Es una buena manera de decirlo así. Lo que probablemente nos vaya a dar un poco de rango por acá. Entonces, el precio probablemente vaya a consolidar por un rato, por ahí entre los 8.80, los 9.20 hasta los $8. ¿Qué es lo que estamos buscando si eres alcista en esto? Sencillo, tienes un Silver Cross acá, que es un cruce plateado, es cuando el 55 y el 21 se cruzan, el 21 se va por encima del 55 y es justo lo que pasó acá. Aquí veniste, lo perdiste tantito, pero lo volviste a tomar perfectamente. Una vez más, te apoyaste en el 55 perfecto, luego solamente te apoyaste en el 21 y te dio este movimiento grande. Básicamente no quieres perder estos EMAs si no quieres que se voltee esto para decir que es bajista. Por ahora esto se ve alcista, pero tiene cara de que va a corregir por tantito, tiene que consolidar el precio y poder seguir el movimiento hacia arriba como te gustaría verlo. Así que es literalmente lo que estás viendo en esta tabla y ahí lo tienes. ¿Qué es? UWMC. Y ahora vamos a poner Novavax. Alex, let's see. Novavax. Novavax sounds like a new vaccine. Is that for the monkeypox?
It must be. Let's buy their stock.
Exactly.
This is absolutely financial advice. Just kidding for the FBI who is watching.
Just kidding, FBI, but for real. No. All righty. Whenever you're ready, we're ready. Wait, you're muted, Alex. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, perfect. Pulling a fire on here. Okay. So this chart's interesting. I mean, I'm not getting much off this chart, and I'll explain why. I mean, it's extremely bearish. Even charting this is hard because, especially if we go just on a daily here, ignore this pump, but we've just been kind of in this gray zone in the chart. It's hard to find major support because, in my opinion, it's just, I guess you could argue like the bottom of this, it could be major support. But I'm unsure, honestly, just because of the pure weakness of this chart. Major downtrend, and we can just see that on the weekly pretty nicely. So what I'm watching now is if you're bullish on this chart, you want $10 to hold. There shouldn't, if we're bullish, that should be the level we hold, in my opinion. That was the last level we held before we had a major breakout. And that's why I'm watching that $10 area. Will this chart go on a massive parabolic rally? Most likely not. Unsure. You can see, though, context matters. And when this rally happened, this was in 2020. So, Novavax, if it's in the medical industry with the pandemic, it could be just one of those stocks that we saw that were just catching a pandemic bid, essentially. On the weekly, though, what I see if we zoom in, basically we're still catching major resistance at the 9, which makes sense, especially since we just lost it, while potentially forming like almost a double top with a lower high. Even if you go off of a closing basis, which I like using wick basis, it's still a lower high on the weekly, unconfirmed, unless we, yeah, I mean, well, It's hard to say because, like, really in my playbook, to confirm the lower low would be if we broke basically these lows here. But that is just an aggressive dump. So what I'm seeing potentially is a potential double top on the weekly. In that scenario, then you would expect the weekly EMA 9 to act as resistance, and we would then expect a rollover in the deviation.
Let
That's
me
what
ask
I
you
see on the
something.
weekly. Yeah.
Are you not seeing if you put the 21 and the 50 and the 55, is there a silver cross literally happening right now?
I was trying to look at that. It's unconfirmed though.
It's
Because
unconfirmed, yeah, but it's like on the
it's
verge
it's
of getting
trying
it done,
to.
right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is trying to. But the 21, it's like almost, I guess it's slightly above. It is trying to silver cross, but then
Mhm.
when I look at the 21 and the
If I can
9,
add something to that silver cross,
Yeah.
yeah.
the way to confirm that silver cross is as long as price is above the highest moving average, as long as it keeps staying above it, those moving averages will keep moving up. So after the next weekly closure, it will then cross. But as long as price is above that higher one.
So then
So it's got to
I have a
continue to keep pushing up, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So as long as we keep pumping, right, theoretically these will move up and then we will silver cross. But then I have a question for Farin too, because then I gauge silver crosses, but I also like before that watching the 21 and the 9.
Yeah.
When the
So in my
21 goes
opinion, the
above the 9.
21 and the 9 is like the first indicator that you should watch an upcoming silver cross, because the 21 and the 9 is like the 9 is the fastest moving average that I use, and the 21 is the middle one. So whenever the fastest one moves over the middle one, it's telling you that we're starting to get into an uptrend. The confirmation of the uptrend is the 21 over the 55.
Right. So that's why
Ooh,
it's
on the
interesting to me
verge.
because right, I was looking at that, but then we see the 21 not close to the 9, but it is about the silver cross on the weekly, but it's unconfirmed. So I don't know if we're seeing it. This is telling us it's not going to confirm. I'm unsure. But then maybe, right? Let's see, maybe on the 2-day chart. On the 2-day, you see the 9 going under the 21, which I believe that is a preset to possibly bearishness. Is that true, Farn? Because it would be if this was bullish, it'd be the 9 going above. It would be the 21 going above the 9. But since we have the 9 going under the 21
Yeah, so that's
on the
telling
2-day,
us that on the opposite hand of the 9 going above the 21, that you should watch for an upcoming bearish setup.
yeah.
So what you
So
would not want to see is you do not want to see right now price projecting anywhere around that 9.
right. So it's very interesting to me, and that kind of solidifies what we see on the weekly, which is basically major resistance right at this 9. Which we have, in my opinion, this is the spot where we would reject. If we can reclaim note, $12.80, we'll look good. That'll be great. Look like a deviation, held support, reclaim the 9, and we'd have a good chance to probably fill some of this inefficiency here on this weekly dump. But I mean, it doesn't take a genius. We can just see on this downtrend, the 9's aggressively holding it down. Anytime we get above the 9, the 21 acts as resistance. So is it flip now? Did we lose the 9? Is 21 acting as support, and we're going to reclaim the 9? Would be a good sign. But until then, I'm seeing possibly, bearishness on the weekly, approaching resistance now at 1280. And then the 3-day chart that we just looked at is confirming that slightly. It was, I think it was the 2-day chart actually.
2-day. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just confirming that because I like the 9 and the 21 as like a preset of like bearish or bullishness. But when I see, the 21 coming under, no, when I see the basically the 9 going under the 21, it's not the best sign, I guess, and it solidifies that this area here, 1280 to $13 is resistance, and the trend is still down, and we potentially still have a double top here, but mainly on the weekly. So essentially cautious right now at this point. If you want to trade this potentially, I would just wait for some daily closures above this area here. If we can get a
Both 90,
few, we can get a few daily closures above $13. To me, that'll probably solidify that the 2 days reclaim the level. The weekly now is probably reclaimed the 9. And then now we have more confidence / confluence on when we know we're wrong. Because we start losing those levels, not a good sign. But bulls have somewhat some steam here, especially reclaiming this EMA 100. Big level. So ideally, we just want to hold above that and then reclaim basically $13 on a weekly closure. Reclaiming the $13 region would mean we're back above the 9. And that's my at least higher time frame on when we're in bull mode. Let's see the monthly out of curiosity. And the monthly is also solidifying that. The weekly we'd expect, since the monthly is holding the 9, and there's still 16 days, but my metric on like major bull mode is if the monthly is holding the 9 and the weekly is holding the 9. If like on Bitcoin, when we saw the weekly lose the 9, I wasn't instantly bearish because of the monthly still holding. And so what I see here now is potentially the weekly is going to reclaim the 9 while the monthly is turning into a nice candle. A nice candle because you can see the buyback, and this can easily turn into a hammerhead. Nice green body. And the monthly is telling us an easy resistance point now. It's very obvious. It's basically just this $18 area. So something to watch, if you trade more macro. But on the lower time frames, we are approaching resistance. Watch $12.80 to $13, especially if the daily can reclaim that. And you can use the 21, in my opinion. If the daily can actually hold above the 21, use the 9 as support, not deviate and fall below, but actually base on it, we probably do have a good chance of hitting this $18 region, which is crazy, but it is a big move. And it makes sense. When we have these big dumps, big inefficiencies down, they leave gaps, and they also just leave inefficiencies for price to move quickly, on top of shorts piling in. So something to watch. It looks okay. Structure's trying to form, weekly's trying to silver cross, but it's unconfirmed. So really just watch more closely. That's why majority of trading is just a patience game, in my opinion. But the easy trade here, if the weekly does silver cross, right, the 55, the 21 going over the 55, if it silver crosses and we reclaim the 9, you just bid the 9 and you have an easy invalidation. So patience will be constituted. Watch that $12.80 to $13. Big
and
level.
To add something to that, if you were to get a daily closure anywhere below $11, you would confirm bearish divergence on the daily.
Oh, under $11. 1 second.
Yeah, that's interesting. Let me go to my notes here. 1 second. Let me check this out. Yeah, I mean, and that makes sense because what Farn's base, what level was it, Farn, for you?
11.
11. Yeah. Wouldn't it? I mean, I do wonder because the price would need to make a lower low, but RSI would need to make a higher low for the bearish divergence. Wouldn't the lower low then be under here?
Can I tell you something that's scary?
Uh-huh.
This went up in 2020 because of the pandemic. It pre-ran,
Right.
It front ran the demand for the vaccines and all that shit, right?
Yeah.
Right now, it's kicking up again, and it's because they do make vaccines.
Are we getting another pandemic?
Well, that's what I was just talking about in this fucking video, and I said no. It's gonna leave me like looking like a fucking total asshole.
You're not wrong though. That is basically when it did go on its parabolic run. I went on a little run here. I don't know what happened around this time, but you are right. In 2020, and this is what I mentioned when I started this, is it was like one of those COVID things that it pumped on the just the COVID pump. Now it's interesting though, right? Because I hear the point. It is interesting that it's starting to look a little bullish, while we just had the WHO announced something with bird flu, was it, I think, or
no,
yeah,
it's like the monkeypox, and
I
this
was
is like a new version of it.
I don't know anything about any. I click buttons, but I thought they were going to use the monkeypox. I think that's what it was. I kept hearing that, on the. No, it's no bird flu. My apologies. I kept hearing about bird flu all the time, so I was like, is that going to be the new thing that they're going to get? They're basically going to use as the narrative. Very interesting. I mean, yeah, if this weekly does get, if let's say by some grace of God, the weekly does come and reclaim this EMA 100, to me, that'll basically be race on. I say that because really it was the level we're at now where we started pumping, but it wasn't until we reclaimed. Let me get this and
what
this
price
off.
is that 100 at?
Yeah, so My mega pump scenario is if we reclaim on a weekly 2350.
So what I have is 2350 is to confirm a weekly buy signal on the jewel.
Great
2350.
confluence. Yeah, that's great confluence is what I see. If we get above that 2350, and every weekly closure, this EMA 100 will come, but it's right around my major zone with this huge gap. No coincidence here. I then will think this will have a nice move. And it's something I'll watch, considering, you know, we have just the uncertainty of potentially having maybe another, hopefully not, pandemic, God forbid, getting locked down again. But very interesting, good confluence. Yeah, so very simple though on this chart. Watch basically just the weekly and the daily. You want, if you're bullish, you want the weekly to get above the 9. You want the monthly to keep holding the 9. And then on the daily, you'll know if it's looking quite good. If we basically get back above, I don't use the 55, but it's nice the 55's right here, but essentially the 21. If we can get back above the 21 and hold it, that'll look great to me for a push up to that $18 zone. So something to watch for sure.
Thank you, sir. Perfecto. Solamente voy a decir algo. Estamos analizando en este momento Novavax. Novavax crean vacunas. Y esto, el último pump que tuvo fue en la pandemia. Y en este momento está empezando a poner cara de esto. Y justo acabo de hacer un video en donde les estoy comentando que probablemente no pase. Vamos a ver qué pasa. Vamos a ver qué pasa. Ok. Vamos rápidamente a ver Novavax. Les quiero enseñar un poco el gráfico desde lejos. ¿Por qué? Porque te da una muy buena pinta y da una muy buena historia. Esto empezó literalmente en la pandemia con el zampompazo que tiene hasta acá, que llegó a los $330. Esta de acá, de antes, me parece que esta fue el bird flu del pasado o el de cerdo, no me acuerdo cuál fue. Entonces, en este momento estamos literalmente en bajos, bajos, bajos de bajos, como pueden ver. Es bastante interesante cómo está esta gráfica y cómo se está desarrollando. Ahora, déjenme, los traigo más de cerca para que puedan ver acá el precio en este momento. Lo habíamos analizado antes. Había puesto yo esta línea. Esta línea es bastante importante para el precio, lo pueden ver. Está en un canal paralelo bajista, pero puede que este haya sido el bajo más bajo y este esté haciendo un bajo más alto y esto pueda ser un alto más alto. Vimos cómo tuvo un rechazo acá. Varias cosas que comenta Alex y también Farhan en lo que analizaron. Voy a poner el EMA 9 en la semanal para que vean rápido. Estamos a punto de tocarlo, pero eso no es lo que les quiero enseñar. Acá lo que les quiero enseñar es que si pones el 21 y el 55, están a punto de hacer un Silver Cross, otro cruce plateado. Y de nuevo, esto pasa cuando el 21 sube del 55 y está a punto de confirmarse si esto sigue yendo para arriba. Eso, ¿qué nos dice? Que muy probablemente el siguiente objetivo del precio vaya a ser por aquí de los 12.83. Queremos, si eres alcista en esta gráfica, poder subir acá, crear un alto más alto que esto, romper esto y de ahí irte a buscar esa resistencia que está ahí. Pero cuando lo volteas a ver, por ejemplo, en el gráfico de 2 días, es un poco de lo mismo. Ya se agarró del 55 en la parte de abajo, estás viendo el 9 y el 21 que son el próximo objetivo y hay bastante confluencia en esta zona de $13 con el precio. Regresando a la semanal porque es más importante en mi punto de vista, cuando volteas a ver este gráfico tal cual, este grafiquillo tal cual, te está pintando 2 escenarios. Uno, hiciste tope acá, este es un alto más bajo, este es un bajo más bajo que esto y esto podría ser bajista, pero la realidad es, si el precio se mantiene por encima de los que eran 13 aquí, justamente aquí. Si el precio se mantiene arriba de los 13.50, muy probablemente vas a tener este cierre arriba. ¿Y dónde vas a tener tu entrada? Porque esto obviamente sería bastante alcista. Simplemente tendrías que comprar el 9, el EMA 9. Una vez que lo superas, agarrarlo como soporte porque siempre regresa, recuerda, y ahí tal vez empezar tu primera compra. Si lo ves a bajista, para que sepas, si cierras abajo de los $11, esto está pintando una divergencia bajista y podría ser que el precio regrese a nada. No sabemos cómo vaya a jugar, pero empieza a verse alcista esto que literalmente ha caído de $330 a $12.19. Bastante interesante. Gracias por mandarlo, Salas. Se aprecia. Got the next one, and this one's interesting. It's called Bitcoin. Have you guys heard of it?
I think I've heard that one.
Wait, you muted?
Oh, no, I'm not muted. So if I'm not wrong, correct me. But did one of our previous presidents just not say, "Please enjoy your Bitcoins. We will be buying more Bitcoins for everyone."
And now what is he doing? What are they doing? They're like the U.S. government just sent their Bitcoins to the exchange in Coinbase, ready to sell them. Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, they're like, don't worry about it. We're gonna hold your Bitcoins while we sell them all.
Rug pull.
That's kind of like what they did. If this really, we don't make a new all-time high and then we go into the bear market, Trump fucking sold us his Bitcoin.
But you know what I'm impressed about that though? If that actually does happen and we do go into a bear market, this has been the thing that crypto people have been talking about since like 2009. That we're gonna make our bags go to such astronomical values, and the institutions are gonna buy them from us at the top. When did they start the ETFs? And the ETFs topped out at $73,000, and that's where BlackRock and every single ETF had their biggest inflows. So did the crypto bros really sell their bags to the institutions at the top?
Let me tell you something. No. And well, I understand that that's what everyone looks at, and everyone thinks that the financial system just works based on regulations and the rules of those regulations, right? Like they would never, ever work around those. Around January of 2022, whenever the bottom was at $15,000, I went to talk to Andorra at an economic forum style type of thing. And we were just talking about finance and all this shit. And at the same time, I was in the process of opening an exchange. I wanted to open a bank, really, like a DeFi bank. I was in the process of that. And every fucking institution I talked to, and I'm talking about major banks. I'm not going to name them because I want to work with them in the future. But major banks were like, dude, we're buying all the Bitcoin we can possibly buy right now. And I was like, they're trying to get me to buy it. I don't trust them. And if I would have trusted them, I would have made more money than Farhan, but I didn't. I didn't trust those motherfuckers. It was at the lowest of the lowest. That's where it was. So institutionals, let us be clear, they bought the bottom. Like they like to pretend that they bought that 40 whatever. The idiot that bought the ETF is the one who bought it at 47.
Yeah,
but the institutions were like, the institutions bought it at 15 and sold it to that idiot at 47. And they're not even selling it to him. They're loaning it to him, right? Because they still have it under custody.
And you have to remember, I mean, Bitcoin is a super, 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 super young asset class. So all these like big bang people, this is nothing new to them. This is actually probably some of the easiest money they've ever made in their life. Because they're dealing with just people like us, and like there's not a lot of data, and they can manipulate, and it's the Wild West. So no, I agree with you. I think they're well positioned, and I think the only people that get fucked are the people that put this in their retirement account at 70K.
You know what I think is one of the most valuable pieces of information for people trading Bitcoin is if you just have to open up Twitter, you see a big green candle, everybody's getting major bullish, they're going all in there. You have to remember, these are the people you are trading against.
It's true. You know, it is fucking true. It is in a way kind of easier now once you let the noise and everything settle down and you know what a little bit more what you're doing. Just paying attention to retardedness online really does help for trading.
It does. No, 100%. That's how we nailed the that short on Elite Trading Academy we gave out, I think 2 days ago. Everyone was max bullish. Crypto Twitter's longing. I look at my phone really quick. Oh, we're at major resistance. We keep rejecting. Easy short, instant 1.3% down in an hour. Simple short. Understanding the price, but I can't read that with like a Tesla trade because I just watch Bitcoin. So you're right though. Once you can understand the kind of, I don't know, consumer sentiment or crypto Twitter sentiment, it makes it easier.
Dude, with Tesla is so easy. Tesla's another one that's really easy. Just real quick before we jump in the Bitcoin one. The Tesla one, if you follow the pages that like the cars and talk about Tesla all the time, and they're like, oh, Tesla just announced that they're going to drop the new Model Y here. Tesla just did this. Tesla just did that. When they just focus on telling everybody how stupid they are because they're selling it and it's so cheap, that's when you buy in. And when they start telling Elon, you should do something about your politics and shares, that's when you buy. Tesla's another one that's super, super easy because of how loud and stupid the general public is.
You remember what happened when the Tesla CFO left, I believe in 2018, and the stock absolutely tanked, and then from there it did like a 10x within a couple of months.
Yeah, that was the sign, because everybody was like, everybody's jumping off the ship, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, you live and you learn. What do you got for us for the
let me share my Bitcoin chart.
For the Bitcoin analysis? God, Bitcoin is so good. It's
All right, so
take you to the promised land.
I'm going to start off with Bitcoin on the CME. So I'm looking at the daily on the CME. CME is the futures, and the futures is usually what the big money market movers use to track the price versus the spot, because they can only trade on the weekdays. They can't trade on the weekend, and the CME is closed over the weekend. So right now we have a silver cross to the downside, and we were seeing price reject exactly where you would want to see it at a retest of this 21 EMA. And then right after that rejection is giving us a massive red candle down. We still do not have a bearish engulfing on the daily, but we're very close to it. But we've already closed the daily right now, so we didn't confirm it. We didn't confirm a bearish engulfing, but we closed below this previous candle's open, which is still not as bearish as a bearish engulfing, but it's you do not want to see a candle reverse everything that it did in the previous move. And not only that, but close below the open. We were getting a bounce at this 61.8% level, which is you would expect it based off probabilities, because you have a 61.8% chance of staying above here or not closing below here. What is that minus 100? That is a 38.2% chance of closing below here. So since we did not close below here, and we still have this dual buy signal, which I think is right now, this signal is a trap. Because what I showed you guys before, the perfect dual buy signal, was when the pink was above the yellow and the blue was above the pink. Right now we have the exact opposite. We have the yellow above the pink and the blue below the yellow, below the pink and the yellow.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you see that, you would expect this pink to be resistance, and you would see that turn over from a buy signal to a neutral signal, and then eventually a downward signal for a sell signal. And since we closed below this open, I would have to target the next range I would have on my HPDR would be the 50% range. And that one is sitting here at $57,405. But the reason why I think it will not stop there is because whenever we get one of these moves where we test this blue zone, we reject, and we ended up closing below it, we have to move down to where the blue zone moves to. And right now, the blue zone, the top of it, is at $56,500 in CME. So, and you have to remember, CME has around a $100 to $150 price premium over spot price action. So whatever CME is doing, you have to minus around $100 to $150. So if you were to switch over to spot, I can show you with that same setup. So on spot right now, we're getting the exact same thing on that downward silver cross. We're rejecting the 21 EMA. On spot, we're losing the 50% even. So that would give us not a target of this bottom 38.2, because we've already tested this so many times. We would have to target the median right here. And what tells us that we have to target the median is that volatility is pointed down. Whenever volatility is pointed down, the median becomes a magnet for price action. And right now, that median is at $55,728. After today's daily close, this is very likely going to move up a little bit. I'm guessing it's going to be right up here with this meme line, which is at 56,500. Anyone recognize that number from CME? 56,500?
That's where we went to fucking destroy everyone last time.
Yeah, and that's also what I have on my top of the blue range. 56,500 is the, in my opinion, from there to around this 200 SMA at around 55,005. I would say it's the last stand for bulls to make a higher low there, or this thing is probably fucked. Let me go to a weekly. Right now on weekly on CME, you're getting a rejection exactly where you would want to see it if you want to see it either make a consolidation and a higher low, or you want it to reverse the trend. Right now, since we're getting a rejection here, we would have a technical target of this bottom of the blue zone. Right now, that level is sitting at $55,200, which after this in 2 days is going to close. So it's going to go up a little bit. And I'm going to guess it's going to be somewhere around this zone right here, which is the same $56,500 number that we were looking at before. So that number keeps coming up back to me no matter which chart I look at. That $56,500 to around maybe a high $55,000 as the next possible higher low, and that's the last chance that bulls have for Hopium to make a higher low there and end up going moving up to that $65,000 range. If they do not make a higher low there, then we're probably going back down to the low 50s, maybe 52, 53K, maybe get a little bit of a bounce there, and I think we would revisit that $48,000 low. But for now,
so how do you? I'm sorry, just because I'm a little lost here on the higher low you're talking about. So you're saying that it should go and do a bearish retest of all of those EMAs for it to be a higher low, or where
no,
do you put in the higher
EMAs.
low?
I'm looking at based off my HPDR indicator at the 38.2% level, which is giving me around that 55.5 to 56.5 number.
Got it.
So if I get that and we get any type of bullish reaction there, I would say that you could probably take a high probability long there with your stop loss below 55K, and you would target this mid range right here, which currently is at 60 on CME to 65,000, but it's going to be a little bit lower in spot. It's probably going to be around 64.7 to 64.8.
Okay.
But the only way to get that is you would have to have a low here. If you break below this blue zone, though, every single time we've broken below the blue zone on the weekly, we've had a pretty significant dump. So you break below that, we will very likely, at the very least, come down to the 61.8% level, which right now is at $50,000. I do not know if this will hold based on how many times we've come back down to this level. I think we most likely come down to this 100 EMA, which right now is at 45,000. 45,000. What is that? Yeah, exactly at $45,000. But right now, I don't see that 46 number as an actionable target until we lose this bottom zone at 55.
Got it. Holy shit balls. All right. I'll share with everyone the good news. Bueno, muy sencillo. ¿Qué estamos viendo por acá? Los voy a llevar primero y antes que nada a Bitcoin, a los futuros de Bitcoin. ¿Por qué? Porque recuerden que los futuros de Bitcoin tienen un premium arriba de $150 sobre el precio normal en spot. ¿Por qué? Esto es donde mueven el dinero las instituciones grandes. Esto es el mercado de futuros de Bitcoin. No está abierto los fines de semana. Tradea como mercados tradicionales. De acuerdo al indicador de Farhan, y para ponérselos muy sencillo, se trata de esto y lo están viendo acá. Y los voy a llevar al precio spot para que tengan una mejor idea con las líneas. Déjenme quito estas líneas para que puedan ver mejor. Y esta, aunque esta es una resistencia bastante buena. Ok, aquí donde estamos viendo el precio de Bitcoin en este momento está en $59,035. 59,000 con $35. ¿Qué es lo que estamos viendo? Estamos viendo que aquí tuvimos el cruce plateado, se deshizo a la baja, donde el 21 bajó del 55 de los EMAs, y ahí es donde básicamente te dice que algo no está bien. Cuando volteas a ver esto en el gráfico de 2 horas, puedes ver aquí básicamente una confluencia potente de todos los promedios importantes que están por ahí del 59,600. Esto sería básicamente el retest antes de caer más. ¿Qué es lo que está viendo Farhan en sus indicadores? Tiene un indicador de compra en la semanal, en el Joule, pero no es uno tan perfecto, no es uno ni siquiera perfecto. Se ve como una trampa más o menos, comparándolo con el que acabamos de ver del otro precio que estábamos platicando hace poquito. Creo que era el de Novavax. En este momento estamos viendo cómo el precio en este momento está siendo rechazado por el 9, rechazado por el 21 y cayó acá en la semanal. ¿Qué necesitamos? En este momento lo que estamos viendo, de acuerdo a los promedios y las zonas donde está cayendo el precio en el indicador de Farhan, muy probablemente vayamos a revisitar los 57,645. Si no podemos aguantar los 57,645, muy probable vayamos a la zona de los $55,000. De aquí hay bastante confluencia en la zona de los 55,000 para decir tal vez, y dependiendo del momentum y la volatilidad en ese entonces, tal vez tengamos un pompazo desde acá y nos deje ir de los 55 para el próximo setup hasta esta zona más o menos de los $64,000. Pero eso sería una jugada para esto. Ahora, si rompemos los 55, probablemente vayamos a bajar mucho más de lo que estamos esperando. Voy a poner el EMA 100, está en 44,920. Más o menos, y aparte tienes confluencia con esta zona justamente aquí, pueden verlo. Más o menos tiene cara de que puede llegar el precio a darse una vuelta por acá, pero depende, tenemos que aguantar por ahorita. La última esperanza de los toros, de los alcistas en este momento es que no rompamos los 55 si los llegamos a visitar y que seguimos empujando hacia arriba en cierre semanal. Si los perdemos los 55, vamos a ver si el EMA 55, básicamente el promedio de los 55 días nos aguanta, y si no, vamos a ir a buscar esta zona. Y esto obviamente pues pondría casi el último tornillo ¿cómo se dice? El último clavo en el ataúd de Bitcoin. All right, Alex, CMG. Do you know what CMG is? I'm pretty sure we've done it before.
I know the name, but I just don't know.
Chipotle, dude.
Chipotle.
God damn it. Of course.
The most
Ooh,
authentic Mexican restaurant.
Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that. Well, you set that up. I'm pretty sure you have it all set up because I have it here. Look at this beauty. It's supported on the 55 right now. It wanted to avoid the 100. It did, however, lose the 9 and the 21. Interesting.
Do you guys know if Chipotle did a stock split? Because it wasn't like $1,000 before.
Yeah, I thought it was. So I think they must have.
They should have. Yeah.
Didn't hear about that though. Okay,
I'm sure they did. I just can't remember when. Oh, and this is the weekly. So on the weekly, it came over and said like, "Hey, let me see." Boom.
5-day looks interesting to me. Let me see here.
You got it?
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, cool. You guys see it? Awesome.
Yes, sir.
So Chipotle looks interesting. I mean, it makes sense for having a slight, not a slight, but a pullback here. The question now I have is, are we going to hold $43? $43 is, in my opinion, probably the place we're going to get a bounce, and potentially form maybe a bottom right there. And the reason I say is because it's a key level. If we just ignore the EMAs and we analyze the little bit of data we have from this up-only rally, this is a big rejection high here. Fell down from this high that we rejected from right at 43. Basically, this was from high to low, a nice 7, 8, 19% move down. So big level on Chipotle. The best case scenario, in my opinion, right now would be, yeah, we come down still. We hit this 43 and then we base on it. Not only do we have major support there, but we have the 5-day EMA 100, solidifying to me that, yeah, it's a nice bounce zone. Anytime Chipotle has interacted with the EMA 100, not anytime, but most times, it's been at bottom. Right here was one. Here was another scenario. And then right here, it got a bounce, but it fell below only to get reclaimed. And then it fell slightly below again, but still formed structure here, didn't break this low, base it on support, and then we rallied. So that 5-day EMA 100 is an area I'd be watching, which luckily for us corresponds with the meme line, which also would just basically be, in my opinion, a back test of this breakout, flip it into support, potentially for the next leg up. But that's the 5-day. And let me see here. Let me go to, I wonder how the weekly looks. And you see here, the weekly had a nice rally up, but it rejected the 9, where we'd expect. The 5-day and the weekly, again, are just showing this 43 area. Potentially as a nice confluence for a bounce if it's a mean reversion bounce, but most likely a bounce. The probabilities are really high that we bounce at around this $43 region. Now, something that, I'm not, let me see here, when I'm looking at the weekly and, I'm seeing the 9 crossing the 21, it's not the most promising, it's not the most bearish sign, I guess. When the 9, let me see here. Nope. Yeah, no. When the 21 essentially goes under the 9, like we were just talking about, it's signaling that there's bearishness in the market. I get these sometimes flipped because I don't like to use indicators that tell me it. I'm trying to like mentally always remember it. But it's just like with the higher lows and lower highs. Sometimes you get them mixed up. But essentially, yeah, when you see this 21 falling basically under the fast moving average of the 9, falling above it, it's not a good sign. And then you would expect basically the 9 to be the place we reject. And getting that on a weekly, to me, isn't the most promising sign on top of us rejecting where we would expect a rejection. You know, so something to watch. I mean, the weekly is basing off the 55, but in my analysis, I don't use that too much. I only have the 55 for silver crosses up or down. So as it stands, my system, I'd watch 43. 43 seems like over time that could be a good opportunity. You know, and if we look at just now simply at the daily, you can see this clearly. We're under every moving average. Now I'd expect basically 53.50 to be resistance. If we get any rallies into that, I'd look for some weakness there. But essentially, I would just patiently wait. See the reaction at 43. That to me could be the extremity trade. And it still would be a nice pullback from where we're at currently. Going back to 43 would still be 16.5%. That's why I don't think it's going to do it all in one week. But over time, that's kind of what I'm seeing. Now, the only way to avert that would essentially be if two things happen. If we start consolidating and moving moving at this major moving average more up, that's one way we can divert that. Or if the daily starts getting more structure and reclaims this EMA 100, then I would look at that as you know, this was a big reclaim essentially after it lost, but lost a major point that it needed to hold, which is basically this SMA 200 on the daily. Could not hold that. Tried to go to 100, rejected, fell below, rallied almost to the 9 and SMA 200 now. So slightly got front ran and rejected. So that's why I'm saying that 53.50 is going to be a spot now. I'm looking for rejection. So overall, patience will help on Chipotle if you're trying to, you know, bid it. And if you have a higher time frame view, you know,
Can you switch to the monthly when you get a chance?
yeah. So if you have a higher time frame view, I'd really focus on this weekly support here. Now we segue to the monthly. Let's take a look. You know,
Yeah,
the
let's look.
monthly doesn't look good. You know, it's the hopium here in the monthly is that we are catching a bounce at the 21, but the reason why I'm not holding weight on that is just because of how the weekly's looking and how the daily's looking and how the 5 days looking. You know, we're not forming any kind of structure on any of those, you know, relative time frames compared to the monthly, which is leading me to believe that, yeah, this isn't looking good. And basically what we've had this month from last month was, yeah, we major dump, lost the 9, rallied to the 9, slightly got above, trapped bulls, rejected down, and now here we're just in the gray zone. You know, monthly has 15 days to go, so that's why, in my opinion, I'd just be focused on the weekly. And the
Yeah.
weekly's not looking the best.
And you guys know how I'm the resident hopium dealer, right? So
Yes, sir.
I got to give some hopium to the bears as well. So we can't show love to only one side. Right now,
Exactly.
on the monthly jewel, we're getting a sell signal, not only a sell signal, but a god mode sell signal on the verge of a perfect sell signal. The pink is about to cross below the yellow, and the dark blue is going to cross below all of them. The last time we had that was December of 2021.
Holy shit balls.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's fine to be intermediate bearish, and there's no point to take the harder trade, which is, in my opinion, trying to long this. What you often see is people just try to trade, you know, in the middle of these things while they're going down. You know, they try to long here, they get happy here, it dumps. Better to wait. Let it prove to you that it's bullish. And if we put a bearish retracement here, yeah, you can see here it basically is rejecting the 618. Not a good sign. So overall, not looking good for basically I guess, yeah, it's just not looking good. It doesn't mean it's a death sentence. I don't think this chart is screwed like some of the other things we've seen, like Nike. But I do think that we are coming to a point where, yeah, this can come down still 16-17% more. Faron's analysis, which uses a whole different gauge as a sell signal in the monthly, which then solidifies to me that, yeah, the weekly looks bad, which isn't giving me any kind of confidence that this what's it called, monthly, is gonna basically hold the 21. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't. And I really would. I would really look at the weekly, and I would focus on the weekly EMA 100 being a spot, an opportunity. That's it. That's the only level I'm seeing as of now, where we're in this gray zone. I don't have any kind of long trigger on any time frame, especially the daily. And I'm just watching basically for, you know, that what's it called? That $43 level to get hit.
And if that monthly does close below the 9 EMA, that would confirm the sell signal on the jewel.
Got it.
That's a good point. So yeah, and clearly it's now, you know, where the 9 now is on the monthly currently is at $54. There's still 15 days left, but right, when we have all that time left, it's good to focus on the weekly. And as the weekly stands, not a good look. Rallied straight to resistance, basically rejecting now. Interesting. So, you know, if you're watching this, Confluence right around that $43 level. You know, if that doesn't hold, then, you know, we have to take a look lower, essentially at basically this $34 zone to $36 zone. And if that doesn't hold, and keep in mind, I'm on a weekly, then I wouldn't want to touch Chipotle. So that's just my opinion.
Touche. I think that and diarrhea could be both the reasons you don't want to touch Chipotle.
You guys in South Park, right?
Chipotle, yeah, of course.
Away.
Chipotle way. It'll get rid of your blood stains after eating Chipotle. It's like, but why do you keep eating it if it makes you shed blood? Because I can get rid of it with Chipotle way. It's very simple. Very simple stuff. Okay. Estamos viendo Chipotle. Hang on. Coin. Whoever's next. Coinbase. Yeah.
Oh, that's a fun one.
Ok, vamos a empezar rápidamente con el buen análisis de Chipotle. Primero los quiero llevar a la mensual, que fue lo que más me rompió la cabeza el análisis entre Farhan y Alex. Uno, esta es la mensual para que vean cómo el precio de Chipotle ha ido subiendo a través del tiempo. Obviamente ahorita es una de las cadenas más reconocidas después de haber sido comprada por McDonald's. También hicieron un stock split, por lo que no vale $1,000 su acción. Está en 60, bueno, en este momento la acción de Chipotle está en 51.65, en el after en 51.58. Básicamente en el mismo nivel. Pero en la mensual podemos ver cómo nos rechazó el precio en este momento acá en los 54, que es donde está el EMA 9, en los 54.02, y se dio este bajón hasta los 51.70, que fue donde tuvo su cierre. Sí, casi vino a rebotar al 21, pero aquí les va el truco de todo esto. Si perdemos este EMA 9, estos $54 a fin de mes, y recuerden, ¿cuánto le queda a la tabla? 15 días con 23 horas. Si llegamos a perder el EMA 9, esos $54, se está activando la señal de compra más perfecta que te puedes imaginar en el Joule, y eso pone objetivos a la baja bastante agresivos para que sepan y estén enterados. Vámonos un poco a la semanal rápidamente para que puedan ver cómo también nos damos cuenta que en la semanal hemos perdido el EMA 9, bajó más aceleradamente que el 21. Venimos acá en la última semana, intentamos testearlo y no funcionó. Esta semana también venimos una vez más, casi hasta el 21, retesteamos y nos rechazó para abajo, lo que nos hace pensar que probablemente vayamos a ver objetivos a la baja. Primer objetivo a la baja que tenemos, confluencia, es por ahí de los 43, aunque tengo que decir, probablemente vayas a ver los 40. No, te voy a decir, probablemente vayas a ver los 46 antes que los 43. Pues sí, va bajando, pendejo. Pero no meteríamos las manos hasta los 43, básicamente es lo que estamos viendo. Cuando lo volteamos a ver en la diaria, esto cuenta una historia aún más chida. Recuerden, temporalidades cortas son movimientos que lo vas a ver en los próximos días a semanas. En temporalidades semanales son movimientos que vas a ver en meses. Mensuales literalmente toma la mitad de un año, por ejemplo. Entonces, no es un movimiento rápido. Pero acá estás ya bajo. Vean, vino el precio, intentó retomar el S&P 200, el 21, ir al 100, no pudo, rechazado y cayó. Estás literalmente abajo de todo. Esto se ve algo más bajista que alcista, y para algo decimos bastante, honestamente. Yes, sweetie? Perdón, mi mujer está ahí afuera, pero no me dijo nada. Ok, eso es Chipotle. Chipotle way. All right. Fine, we're going into Coinbase.
You're muted, Farn.
I think you're muted.
This time I didn't remember to unmute myself. But I was saying though, Chipotle, Coinbase, one of my favorite stocks, one of the only ones that I'm willing to hold. And the only reason why I'm so confident in this one is because of my bias on Bitcoin, where I don't think we're in a bear market yet. So I think Coinbase still has a move to room to move up. Right now, we had a previous fib drawn from our last stream. We're
Mhm.
getting this monthly wick all the way down, not only to this blue zone. We're getting so many different confluences here. We're getting this top of this blue zone right here. We're getting this 21 EMA. We're
Mhm.
getting this golden pocket right here on the Fibonacci levels, and we're still holding it, and we're above the 9 EMA for now. As long as we're above the 9 EMA, I consider it very not just bullish, but I consider it like on the verge of very bullish and pretty bullish, like 70% bullish versus 30% bearish. As long as we're above this 9 EMA, I see every single time that it's been going up, it rejected the 9. Whenever it closed above the 9, it got a massive move. It doesn't look like that much because this is a logarithmic chart, but whenever you see how much of a move that actually was, that was about 85% whenever it actually did close above the 9 EMA.
Wow.
So right now, while we are above the 9 EMA, I still consider that bullish. We have momentum starting to flip back up from the neutral zone. We're getting it to flip up towards the. We want to see it break above this. This is the bullish control zone. We will not like get a confirmation until the next monthly close. But the last time that we broke above the bullish control zone was right here when Coinbase was at around $35 and it went to $60. I'm gonna give myself some shameless plugs, some cloud tokens. I was posting you should watch Coinbase at $70 in summer of 2023. Very few people listen.
It's true.
That's where it broke up above the neutral zone, and it went straight from there with minimal pullbacks all the way up to around $116. That's when we had our first real pullback. Then we went straight from there all the way to, up to the $250 to $260 level. So as long as we're still holding this level here, I'm still considering it bullish as the monthly. On the opposite hand, though, we were getting the first signs of a sell signal on the jewel. What I would say though is you have to put a little bit of salt on this. Is that because Coinbase, the stock is so new, there's not enough data on here for the jewel to actually populate. So although it is giving a sell signal, it's not as bad as it would be if we had like several more years of data. Since we don't, we have to put a little bit of grain of salt on it. But if you go into the weekly right now is not only did it hold all of our major EMAs, it came down to the 100. It closed above the 100. It closed above the 55. We had the silver cross, which was confirmed in November of 2023. So on that last downward move, whenever Bitcoin went down to that 48K level and during Japan's collapse, we were in danger of losing that silver cross. But we ended up bouncing back over the weekly and we closed well above it. So now not only do we still have that silver cross, but we closed above the blue zone too. So whenever we maintain the blue zone, you have to target at least the median on the price on this level. The median is going to be your magnet. It's not going to tell you if you're going to break above it. It's going to tell you that you might test it, and you should watch that level to be resistance. Right now, the median is at $213.58. We have momentum going sideways right now, so it's not really telling us anything. We want to see momentum break above this level here, which is at 22.88% negative. If it breaks above there, then we have almost like a certainty that we're going to test this middle zone. From that middle zone, then we have the opportunity of flipping it back up and reversing this whole downwards move and marking this as our next lower high in a series of lower highs. Because all we've had on Coinbase right now is lower highs. We're still on a very strong uptrend. The reason why I still consider this an uptrend, we had a whole bunch of consolidation here. We ended up breaking this meme line. We still held the blue zone. So this is one of my main biases right now. This blue zone, because it's 38.2, so it gives you a statistical probability. That gives you a 61.8% chance of going in towards the opposite direction. And 61.8% chance, in my opinion, is a pretty high statistical probability. It's way better than a coin toss. Right now, we're getting volatility starting to test the support zone while it is trying to flip back up. If it can flip back up and we still maintain this blue zone, then we have a 61.8% chance of hitting the top of this blue zone, which right now is at $244. Right now, in my opinion, this $244 zone is what bulls want to see us break above to confirm this as our macro low and to make a new high from here. And what I think we would make a high from here if we were able to close above this blue zone. Let's draw a Fibonacci level, and I'll give you an accurate number. And I promise I'm not just telling you this because I hold Coinbase.
Right.
Yeah, right. There's no financial incentive for me. Here's what I think the number is going to go down at the next couple of closes. Right now it's at $374. What gives me confluence with this to give me a better target, because these numbers move down with every single weekly close. It's very close to the 78.6% level. So I'm thinking it's going to come down to around here, around $347 to $350. I do not think it's going to close above there. Even if we test there, I don't think we're going to close above there for the next couple of weeks. I think we're probably going to consolidate there, which is probably the best thing you want to see. Maybe make a little bit of a higher low, somewhere around $290 to $300, and I think we can move up from there. My ultimate target right now for Coinbase, where I'm planning to sell, is around the $400 level, which I think we can easily hit. If Bitcoin breaks its previous highs at 73 and we go up to like 80K, 85K, I think Coinbase will be somewhere around 300 to 350, possibly $400. At that point, I don't care if it goes higher. I'm in from 75, so I'm going to sell that shit. I'm getting out.
Yeah.
Peace be with you, whoever's holding. I pray for your financial abundance, but I'm out. Right
Well,
now,
you at least sell it to them.
I'm going to be selling it to them.
They can treasure it. Yeah, they can treasure it.
Right now on the Jewel, we're still getting a sell signal. It's not exactly vertical, but it's not like what you would want to see to flip back around yet, which is why I think that we could still retest this bottom blue zone right here, which is at $190. It's only $5 down. I think if we test that zone again, people are going to start to freak out. They're going to start to short. They're going to start buying puts. And then from there, we'd probably at least get a mean reversion bounce back to this meme line here at $206. If we are bearish, we're going to reject that zone, and I would expect a very sharp rejection, like probably somewhere around like this is at $207. I would expect within that daily close to close below this level here, which is at 189. So I would expect somewhere around this. Let's see if we can around 180 to 181 or 182 level. I would expect a daily close. If we reject that and we are bearish, at that point we will almost certainly break this low, and we have to target the bottoms 88.3. which right now is around this area right here, our previous bottom in a consolidation, which is at $135. What I want to
add a
little,
to add a little confluence to what you're saying, the SMA 200 on the daily is like literally at 190.
Oh, you're right. And not only is the SMA 200 there, but the daily on the median on the HBDR is exactly right there.
Right there.
This is our right now on this move up here. This is the last hopium for the bulls. If you break below this median right here, your first target is this bottom of the blue zone. But since we've already tested this on this candle right here, this is significantly weaker. You would not expect a 61.8% because we already tested it. I would not be able to give you an exact number because we've already tested it before, and I know it's weaker now. But my first target after that would be the 50%, which right now is at $171, which I'm the same number that we brought up before on the weekly and the monthly. At that point, it's the same. If we can hold that level, it will still be a higher low. We will still maintain this short-term trend right here, and then we can possibly hope to retest the silver cross. Right now, we still have the silver cross to the downside, so risk is still to the downside. Even though I am bullish on the stock and I hold the stock and I have hopium for it, I got to be honest with you. Risk is to the downside.
Yes, sir.
The only way to reverse that is to get a daily close above this 55 at $220. Until we have that, risk is to the downside. But the jewel is giving us a buy signal right here. We're above the fast moving oscillator, which is our first sign of like a bullish uptrend. We're getting momentum breaking past the bullish control zone, and we're getting volatility starting to tick up back up. The only way to get volatility confirmation is that right now volatility is at 25%. We want to see it get at least to the moving average. Right now is at 46%. Preferably, we want to get it above the moving average. Once that happens, we have a confirmed uptrending move, and we have a target at top 78.6. At that level, that's at 226. Coincidentally, that's right above that 55 EMA too. So that would confirm reversal of this silver cross to the downside, and we're saying, okay, bottom is in, and we're gonna target upwards from here. When we look at the momentum pivots, and then from there, that'll be all I have. Because right now, Coinbase does not have any divergences. I've already checked before. I look at Coinbase every single day. So,
of course you do.
So right now on the weekly on Coinbase, we are still at that 55 EMA, maintaining the silver cross. We're getting momentum flipping, volatility flipping up, and we're getting it from very, very extreme levels. So what I consider as an extreme low in volatility is that whenever it drops below the 15%. So I'll mark it off for you, the 15% level on volatility. It doesn't have to be exact. Right here, basically around the 15%. Every single time we've come around the 15% at volatility, we've hit absolute lows, and we've had a big move from there. You see what happened right here? The last time we ever hit these lows in volatility, price on Coinbase was, you see my box right here. This is what I was talking about before with my cloud tokens.
Yeah.
I've had these drawn since summer of 2023, but it goes right back to this box where volatility was at that low, which was around $70 to $71.
I have a question on the indicator that you were showing right on the previous screen. So does it matter that it's making lower lows?
No, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
All the if you see lower lows in the volatility, it's telling you that the move that's happening now is going to be bigger than the one that happened before.
Got it.
Because the way the analogy I like to give is that you're pushing a beach ball under the water. So the lower you push the ball, the lower the volatility goes. And then once you let it go, the harder it pushes back up.
And but that type of price action with the volatility going to extremes after it goes so low, price could go down or up, right?
Yeah. So volatility does not tell you direction. The way you get an idea for which way it's going to go is this indicator right here. This is the stochastic momentum. This is not a regular stochastic, because usually stochastic just gives you like these lines.
Yeah.
The one that I use, it gives you a number for the what the price would take to turn the pivot over from up to down. So this one is not a free indicator; it is a private indicator. But to be honest, you don't really need this. This only tells you what to look for if you have a system based off of this. So one of my systems is based off of this, so this helps me a lot. But you don't really need it. Right now, our pivot to turn the weekly momentum back up is over $200.31. If we close above $200.31, not only will we support this momentum back to the upside, this is going to flip back up. We're going to have a rejection of the bearish control zone. That's going to tell us that bulls are strongly in control, and we'd have to target the top of the bullish control zone. Right now, this indicator does not tell you what price that would be, but if you have a rough idea of technical analysis, you can give yourself like a good idea of what the target would be. And right now, it's telling me that it's going to be somewhere around this previous rejected high. If we do flip back up, it's going to be somewhere around $250. In my opinion, at that point, if we do get back up to $250 with volatility expansion, I think we're not going to stop there, and we're probably going to go towards that $300 to $350 target. But right now, I would not take any positions. I would be very cautious. I would say that it's not looking the worst as long as we still hold this 55, but it's also not looking the best. And I would say that bears are slightly in control until bulls can push it back up against over $200 and get a.
And on the weekly, right? That's what the weekly close you're expecting.
The very minimum I want to see is a daily close over that level, but ideally you want to see a weekly close, because right now you have on the daily, with this move down on the price, you have the silver cross to the downside. You're seeing volatility contract with it as well. So that's telling you that this is a corrective move. This is not a move that's going to be a trending move. The only way that this is going to be a trending move is if this volatility starts flipping back up. And on the opposite hand, on the weekly, we were below the momentum pivot. It was $200. Right now, the pivot on the daily is $180.45, which we're still healthily above. Not only that, but we're rejecting the bearish critical zone. If we would have broke into the bearish critical zone, that would have told us that this thing is probably fucked for a little while, and we're probably gonna, at the very least, consolidate, go down before we can even have any hopes of making new highs from there. Right now, we've bounced exactly where we needed to, where volatility is at extremes. Last time we've ever been around this level was here at this low here at $208 before we went up to this high here at 273. So we're getting this exact same setup. We're getting momentum flipping back up. And we are getting, let's see if there's any divergence of momentum. There's a lower low. Yeah, so from these lows, we are getting a little bit of hidden bullish divergence, but it's not the strongest drive hidden bullish divergence because it's so far away from price action right now. This was from February of 2024, so this is like 6 months ago. It still would play out, but it would not give you as strong of a divergence that it would be if it was from like just a month ago or a couple of weeks ago. From that divergence, like you would not target new highs because on the daily on this setup, if it was closer, you would target new highs. But since it's not, you would target this 55 EMA, which right now is at 220, and that would be an exact retest of this bearish silver cross. We reject here. You would expect it to break these lows, and let me give you a good target of what we could aim for. you would expect somewhere around $93. Like if you were to break this level, and I don't think
Yeah.
it's going to go down there like in one move, but like since this is a crypto type of stock, it does like to move like crypto. Maybe
Like a
it does it.
total asshole.
Yeah, maybe it does it in 2 or 3 weeks. I wouldn't bet on it. I would say like it would probably take like 2 or 3 months, but this is the ultimate target that I would look at, this $93 level. But what I'm thinking is that if it breaks below $100, everybody's gonna freak out. They're gonna get max bearish. Everybody's gonna start shorting, and then from there, I think we would at the very least get a mean reversion back up to this area right here where we rejected, somewhere around $200. Get everybody bullish again, and at that point, in my opinion, we would be in a very strong downtrend, and I think we would go down from there. And I think if that were to happen, in what I look at Coinbase is a leading indicator for crypto. I think at that point, crypto would be in a bear market.
Do you think Coinbase is ahead or?
Because if you look back in October, right before Bitcoin broke out, and if you also look at it in March, Coinbase performed first.
Okay, good. Because that's the way I used it, but I wasn't sure. It's one of those like.
It works.
Alrighty.
I've back tested it, so I've taken the time.
Oh, it certainly works 100%. It's made my life so much easier because it's way easier to read Coinbase than to read fucking crypto. Well, it was for me. Still is, I guess.
I'm one of those TA nerds who just sits there for hours in the chart, just back testing every single previous instance, so I can get the numbers. Because when I have the numbers, it makes me feel much better about taking a trade.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting too, because I used to watch Coin as well, but then you told me the correlation with BlackRock as well.
Yeah, but it's a BlackRock ETF, the IB.
Yeah,
very interesting stuff.
Alrighty, I'm gonna put it on, and Alex, for you, Mara. Do you know what Mara is?
Let's see.
Mara.
Yeah, Marathon Digital Holdings.
I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick.
I'm gonna go into this one. You do you, playa. Let's go. Ahí les va. Tenemos Coinbase en este momento, tal cual como lo pide mi querísimo Carrasco 82. Eres más viejo que yo, cabrón. ¿Naciste en el 82? ¡Wow! Déjame, me hago un poco para atrás para que puedan ver bien este gráfico. Discúlpenme, voy a apagar todos mis EMAs, menos el 200. Yo creo que el 200 es necesario. Y acá, bueno, tienes la caída, ya la puedo borrar, ya pasó. ¿Qué estamos viendo en este momento? En este momento, en la diaria, les voy a decir esto antes de empezar. Básicamente estamos en medio de todo, tal cual con cripto, ¿no? Porque Coinbase es un indicador adelantado del precio de cripto. Coinbase hace los movimientos primero y después cripto lo sigue. Bitcoin, básicamente. Es como lo he estado usando yo como referencia en el pasado y ahorita Farhan me dijo que no estoy tan pendejo y que sí, así es como él lo usa. ¿Qué estamos viendo en este momento? Vimos obviamente un poco de lo que habíamos visto en Bitcoin, que es un alto con alto más bajo, un alto más bajo que este, pero no que este, lo que nos dio bastante hopium. Habíamos tenido bajos más altos desde acá, pero ahora rompimos unos más para abajo, ahora con ese viernes japonés que se llevó todo entre las patas. Lo que están viendo aquí, la línea morada que están viendo de cerca, es el S&P 200. Si perdemos esta chingadera, que está justamente en los $190, que es literalmente uno de los niveles que no queremos perder, muy probablemente veamos una caída potente. Pero si podemos aguantar, esto es lo que les quiero enseñar. El S&P 21 y el 55 nos acaban de dar un cruce plateado a la baja. Queremos empezar a empujar, si somos alcistas, el precio hacia arriba con cierres positivos poco a poco. Eso nos ayudaría a llevar esto para adelante. En la diaria, el día de hoy, queremos cerrar arriba de 180, cerramos arriba de 180, bien hecho. Pero en la semanal, cuando volteamos a ver la semanal, ¿qué es lo que estamos buscando? En la semanal, permítanme, no, el 21, ahí está, el 100, no lo necesito. No, sí, en realidad también. ¿Dónde está el 9? Discúlpenme. Aquí está. Ok. Como pueden ver acá arriba, estamos en 216, 293. Ya perdimos el 9, perdimos el 21 y aquí abajo tenemos el 55, el 100 y más para abajo el 200. Lo que les quiero decir es, muy probablemente, si no empezamos a mover el precio hacia arriba y en la semanal no tenemos un cierre arriba de esto, los $200, esto se va a empezar a ver bastante bajista y muy probablemente tu siguiente visita vaya a ser por ahí de los $178, $188 tal vez, porque tienes algo de confluencia con esto. El precio está arriba, por lo que va a subir el 55 junto con el 100. Si llegáramos a perder eso, probablemente vayamos a ver sin problema alguno los 122 y abajo de los 100. Entonces, para nosotros, para los alcistas en cripto y los alcistas en Coinbase, ¿qué es lo que queremos? Semanal, un cierre arriba de los 200. Diario, ya lo logramos el día de hoy, arriba de los 180 y queremos seguir cerrando arriba de los 180. Si los perdemos, esto no va a pintar nada bien. Simplemente por lo que les enseñé. En la mensual fue algo elegante, pero también no le podemos poner tanto valor a esto. ¿Por qué? Porque es muy pequeña la vida de Coinbase y no tenemos tantas velas acá como para poder sacar buenos promedios. Pero mínimo estamos rebotando en mínimo en la mensual a largo plazo en el EMA 9 que está en los 195, que de nuevo nos da confluencia un poco con los objetivos que estábamos viendo antes, y también los 167 del 21, que de nuevo es un poco de lo que estábamos viendo. La de 5 días, rapidísimo, déjenme ver algo. Sí. Muy probablemente el precio de Coinbase venga a retestear acá en los 215. Esperemos que lo pueda hacer porque eso sería lo mejor que puede pasar para todos nosotros. Pero si no, de nuevo, si ven que esto cierra abajo de los 200 semanalmente, como diría Donald Trump, échense a correr, aunque Donald Trump no diría eso, pero yo sí. Así que ahí está, lo tienen. Listos. Alrighty. Ready. Coinbase, now we're doing Mara. Let me look up Mara.
Let's see. Yeah, it's one of those, I think, mining companies through crypto, I believe.
Oh, it is. It absolutely is. I have it also.
Yeah, so the chart's very interesting to me. I mean, if we're going to start on the weekly, right now what I'm watching is potentially, so on the weekly, I'm watching price action here. There's some structure being formed on the weekly potentially. Once we made this low here, we made the high, potentially a higher low leading to the higher high. And so now I'm watching to see if basically RSI can make a lower low while price can come around here, not break the low of essentially that was in October.
September, October,
yeah, right around like 743
Mm-hmm.
to potentially make a hidden bullish divergence. That's not confirmed, it's just a scenario because we see RSI would need to make a lower low, which I believe would be if we break this on RSI. So there's some hopium potentially. We just wouldn't want this low here to be broken on the price action, because if with the weekly can form higher lows, but RSI can form lower lows, and that could be hidden bullish divergence. But as it stands right now, this red line's a big level for Marathon. You know, I have 3 lines here, but if you just mainly focused on this red line and zoomed out, you know, you can see it is a massive level for this stock specifically. Anytime we're below it, big dumps, and anytime we hold and we're above it, leads to big pumps. So losing that isn't a good sign. And where I have that now, that's right now at 18. That's at $20.80. So right now, that's not good that we lost on the weekly. But on top of it, right now on the weekly, what I'm seeing here potentially is, you know, it's losing all the major moving averages on the weekly, which it's not a welcoming sign. And it's definitely not a good sign for crypto. You know, if we go and let's take a look here. I mean, when price got under all major moving averages on the weekly, was basically right around this time period here. You know, we were the 200 was really high. The 100 kept acting as resistance. The 9 and the 21 kept being the intermediate resistant point. But essentially, you can see the reaction once Marathon got under all the major moving averages. It basically we just came down. So essentially, what we don't want to see if you're bullish is you don't want these lows, like we said in October, September, to break. You'd watch basically the weekly RSI. Potentially, we could form, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we could there's a scenario we could form basically hidden bullish divergence.
It would have to turn up now, no?
Yeah. So the way to confirm this hidden bullish divergence right now, you have to make a local low here in this previous green candle. What is the open at? If you could pull it up.
Yeah.
It opened at
on the
1370,
weekly.
right?
Yeah, that previous green candle, the one right
Oh,
next
the
to it.
previous one. Yeah.
That
So it
one
opened
is
at 1393.
yeah. So if you get two closures above 1393, that's how you would confirm that hidden bullish divergence.
It's not. You're basically counting this was the higher low, so now this is the
I'm
lower low.
no, I'm
right?
I'm using that one, and I'm also using the ones before it. Like if you go previously, also those as well.
I see.
The ones in the past are not going to be as strong. The main one is the one that's closest to price action.
Yeah, that's what I was focused on. So like I'm looking at this being the higher low, this potentially being lost on our side, creating the lower low, creating hidden bullish divergence.
And the target that I would get from that would be right around your red meme line, maybe slightly a little bit higher than it.
The
But we can
20
do that.
bucks.
We can do that on a wick too. Wick
Yeah, I
above
have
it,
2080.
protect it.
So essentially, that is just a scenario that I'm watching. If you're bullish on if you're trying to be bullish on this, but as it stands, it's not looking the best. And this red line here is a major level for price, and so if I go and examine this, because I don't like how big this range is, I don't think we're going to go to $1. What I like to do then, if I'm trying to just see kind of where we could find more intermediate support, I just look at where we got bought up on this basically mega dump here, where the wick got bought up. I'm going to just put another meme line there. And so I am catching support at this $10 region. As it stands, that's kind of the area I'm looking at for price to go to, especially with how it's looking. Now, I'm interested to see how the monthly is looking now. Yeah, wow. So the monthly is not looking good. And there's not a lot of data, and we know that with just how little the EMA 100 is populated. But as it stands, the monthly is not looking good. Nice top candle rejection off the EMA 100, been a big point on this chart for many months. Now falling below the 9 and the 21, not confirmed, but not looking the best.
And if I can add something right now on the weekly, we are getting a volatility versus stochastic momentum setup to the downside. Because we have volatility starting to expand. It's at 10%. It's confirmed at 15. But right now
What's the number?
the
on
pivot
Marathon?
is at $23.56. So as long as we're below that number, this volatility setup is going to push us to the downside.
That's bad, and I love that's actually one of my favorite indicators you use, is the momentum pivot strategy. Beautiful setup, and that's bad. So what he's essentially saying here is price needs to get above over $20 for that weekly to flip up. Volatility super low. Do you have a measured move on that weekly with Marathon? Well, let's just say the last time it fired
Like
off.
right
Yeah, I can pull it
this
off right
week, it needs to close there in a day and 22 hours.
Yeah, and
Get
then
the fuck out of here.
So
then the
our average
hopium,
move on that setup is around 40 to 50% whenever it confirms.
yeah, so it's huge. And so, Alonso, you're right. It is fucked on this weekly. So the hopium then would be on this next weekly. That pivot comes down dramatically, right? If it can come down to, from 23s, 22s to like 18, 19, 17, okay, that's good. If it goes up, though, if it goes to like, let's say 26, 20, like higher, very bad. That's
Right now,
actually
I think on the
sign.
next weekly close, it's going to go up because the momentum indicator is pointed very vertically to the downside. So whenever it does that, it's telling you bears are very strongly in control. And if you're not able to regain that pivot on the next week, it's going to move higher.
And the reason I love the momentum pivots too is because, remember, we're on a weekly now. So this is giving us a statistical probable setup that this is bearish unless we
Towards
get
the
weekly
downside.
closures above this level. And then you mix it with my system on top of what do you see with the weekly bands? They're getting tight. What I like about those momentum pivots too is when you're in this consolidation, people are kind of freaking out. They don't know which way it breaks. That can give you a better gauge. If the weekly momentum pivot is heavily bearish and we have a 30% measured move down and the Bollinger Bands on the weekly are getting tight and we're losing all the major moving averages and deviating this $20 level, you can kind of start putting the puzzle together. And that's why I like using that, because it really does. It's really nice. And that's a great point, Farn, because then, let's see, like unconfirmed, let's just see, right? If we do get a 32% move down, where does that take us to that $10 region? So unconfirmed, not looking the best on the weekly. The monthly looks like death. Potentially not confirmed there either. Let me check the daily. Yeah, the daily doesn't look good. And why I say is because we had a nice bounce, but it's just rejecting the 9. And now the 9 just healthily under all these major moving averages. Not a good sign. You know, it tells me even if price does somewhat get into this $19-20 region, there's just major resistance there. And this has been a big point for price to kind of hold. You know, so ideally the hopium is, yeah, we quickly deviate and kind of form some structure more. But as it stands, to me, it seems like the weekly hopium here that, you know, this was the higher high, around here is going to be the higher low, could quickly diminish. Hold on. Sorry, someone called me. It could quickly diminish, especially with all the other things in the background that we're looking at. One more thing, if I just want to look, yeah, the 4-hour. Yeah, so I'm essentially getting really nothing bullish on this as of right now. I guess the only hopium here would just simply be consolidation. But right, even like on my chart, this is the gray zone. So consolidation leading those pivots, like the weekly we talked about, to move more down would be bullish. But in my opinion, how the weekly Bollinger Bands are looking currently, with how momentum is, you know, it's basing right now, it's very down. You know, to me, it feels like we're going to get a little breakdown soon.
Yeah.
You know, so something to watch, and that also has implications for Bitcoin, Coinbase, things like that. Why would
Yeah.
Marathon
So
Holdings look
what scares me
so
about
bad?
this is that the bearish setup that I'm getting right now, because this is a Bitcoin miner. So if Bitcoin miners are getting a bearish setup on the weekly, and that performs like a 30 to 50% move, where's Bitcoin going to be at that point? Who knows?
Exactly. This is an easy trade for me. If I were to take this, I'd take it like this. Very simple thesis. And, you know, obviously with this kind of, 32%, even take a look at that. Oh my God. 1 second. Let me go to the daily here and get a better setup. Good Lord. You know, essentially what I wouldn't want is just this last rejection high to get broken. To me, when you're getting a setup like this, especially with the weekly, you know, the daily, it's a lot of chop around this red zone. You go up, you go down. You go up, you go down. You go up, you go down. And when you get this kind of price action, it becomes really predatory because it makes it extremely hard to short. But where the weekly is and how things are looking now, this scenario wouldn't surprise me. And personally, I'm gonna look at this closely. Why? Because of Farn's mention of the weekly setup, and also what I see. You know, this $10 region seems likely to me. Right. So would this surprise me? Consolidation, go up, bearish retest, come down. That would to me be the easiest trade, and I might take this because that's clean and it's logical. The idea would just be we come up and quickly tap and then come down. So something like that potentially, because when you have a setup right on a weekly that's giving you 20, 30, even let's say 15% measured move, and you have the statistics on your side, and you have a system showing you the bearish retest, when you put it all together, you just need one of those trades to get like financial abundance. Like that is a good trade to take, you know. So something to watch really closely because that is a really nice setup actually.
Now, can I also say, how worrisome is it that you're muted, Farhan? Um, say that again. You're muted still.
You're muted, sir.
I keep forgetting that I'm muted. My bad.
That's
No,
it.
wait,
That's
what
all
were
you were
saying?
going to
Yeah,
say.
was that it?
No, what I was gonna say though, no, is that with Marathon looking like this is, like the last time the Marathon had its major move was in October of 2023 when it broke out, and that's when Bitcoin broke out too. So whenever if Marathon makes its big move right now on the weekly setup, is that giving us the opposite signal from October of 2023?
Well, it not only goes along with that, but now think about this. Look at this fucking chart of Marathon, and then look at the chart of the vaccine company. Like, it couldn't be worse of a setup, if you will, right? Based on like, no. You're not getting a crypto pump. You're getting a brand new fucking vaccine. It's kind of like going in that direction.
Going to the
Whether
vaccine
Right.
companies.
No, you're right on that. And it is interesting to dissect that because like we talked about, I'm a big believer, the chart and the news. And are the charts telling us something, you know, is happening on the background? I have no idea. But as it stands, yeah, Bitcoin, last I looked, wasn't looking the best. Marathon looks pretty fucked. And that vaccine company we did look at was gaining momentum after a very long time. and it's about to silver cross on the weekly unconfirmed. So,
You know what's
very
crazy though?
interesting.
Despite all of that, and despite Bitcoin not looking the best, my favorite coin, the future of France, XRP, is looking amazing.
Oh, well, hey, if we don't get to someone asking about XRP, we'll do it at the end. How about that?
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All right.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. And let me jump into this one then for these guys. And now we're going to do Solana. So far, and you're the...
My favorite shitcoin.
That's
Yes,
a good
sir. Mine too. Let's go. Ok. Tenemos aquí Mara, que es básicamente Marathon Digital Technologies, es una minera de Bitcoin. Último movimiento grande que tuvo, pueden ver, fue esto, que también topeó junto con el precio de Bitcoin y luego tuvo esa gran potente caída, igualito, lo estamos viendo en la semanal. Ahora, cuando nos acercamos un poco y empezamos a ver la tabla, nos podemos dar cuenta de varias cosas. Una, tuvo un súper rechazo acá en la semanal, donde literalmente habíamos visto que intentamos pompear, no pudimos, no habíamos podido regresar hasta acá. 2, tienes este alto con este alto que es más bajo. 3, tienes este bajo de acá que es más alto que este bajo y este es más bajo que este bajo, por lo que esto está en una tendencia bajista. En el indicador de Farhan tiene una señal de venta. Si no logramos llegar a los 20.86, básicamente hoy que ya cerró el precio, ya está en 15.15, pero digamos esta semana, todavía te quedan 2 días más, ¿no? De full trading. Si no podemos cerrar arriba de los 22.86, estarías creando una señal de venta en el Joule potente y eso te daría un movimiento de corrección que probablemente te lleve a los 10.80. De los 10.80, la siguiente zona que no queremos perder es esta, porque si pierdes la zona de los 7.55, vas a crear un nuevo mínimo. Y esto sería pésimo, obviamente, para todo cripto, para Coinbase y todo lo relacionado a cripto, si tiene sentido. Ahora, denme un segundito. Ahora, lo que quiero enseñarles también es esto. Bueno, primero voy a empezar con lo que nos dijo Alex con Bollinger Band por acá, para que lo puedan ver en la semanal, cómo literalmente vino, apretó antes del movimiento fuerte y ahora está soltando la volatilidad. Estás abajo del promedio medio de la media del canal, pero cuando volteamos a ver esto y les prendo todos mis indicadores, perdimos todos. Perdimos el SMA 200 que está aquí arriba en los 19.51, perdimos el 9, que es el más corto, perdimos el 21, el 55 venimos a retestearlo acá, luego lo perdimos y también el 100. Estamos abajo de todos ellos en la semanal y en la diaria, ¿qué les digo? O sea, los perdimos ya hace bastante. La última vez que vimos esto fue en este movimiento de acá, en esta caída tan potente que habíamos visto antes. Entonces, cuando caímos y perdimos todos estos, estás hablando de una caída de 90%. Y de nuevo, si esto es lo que nos dijo el primer movimiento fuerte de cripto, ¿qué creen que vaya a pasar? No se ve, digamos que no se ven bien las cosas en este momento. ¿Ok? Y déjenme rápido, antes de irme, dejarles una vez más. Si quieren, de nuevo, un segundito. Si quieren unirse a nuestro grupo de trading, es absolutamente gratis hacerlo. Estamos justamente acá. Les dejo el enlace del Discord en la descripción de este video, pero también se las pongo acá en los comentarios para todos los que me estén viendo en diferentes cosas. Pueden simplemente entras, te metes, aquí tienes el análisis de Alex, los análisis de Farhan, tienes también todos nuestros enlaces de asociaciones, donde puedes meterte a BitGet, que es un exchange donde puedes intercambiar futuros de Bitcoin o también spot. Lo puedes hacer internacionalmente, no funciona en Estados Unidos y requiere KYC. Los fees son buenos. Tenemos también Bluffing. Bluffing es un exchange que te acepta Estados Unidos, todo el mundo, y no requiere KYC. Los fees son un poco más altos que los de BitGet, pero aquí lo tienen. Métanse con esto porque nos mandan dinero, nos mandan regalitos, nos dan oportunidades de entrar. Por eso recomendamos también esto, de usarlo. Y para que también queremos hacer un concurso de trading a cierto punto, entre todos nosotros, meternos rico a la bola. Entonces estén atentos acá. Y también si quieren TradingView, aquí lo tienen. Todo eso está en la sección de partners para que sepan. Solamente quiero asegurarme que no esté solamente hablando como pendejo. Acá vienes a decir hola, vienes a pedir tablas, acá vienes a leer noticias y acá vienes a compartir todas tus ganas. ¿Quién se llevó eso? ¿Quién se está llevando todo el Pepe? ¿Quién está ganando todo esto en Pepe? Hijos de perra. Bueno, felicidades, discúlpenme. Vale. Alrighty, Farhan, you ready? Solamis is the next thing, and you're muted, just so you know, before you start.
Thank you for telling me.
I got you.
All right, so we're looking on the weekly on Solana. On this previous downward move when Bitcoin went down to 48K, Solana tested down to the bottom of the blue zone, right at the 55 EMA. It wicked from there and it held the blue zone. Right now, we're rejecting where you would want to see it to reject if you're looking.
Hang on a second. Did I just share the fucking link yet again of this thing? I did.
Yeah, you did. Let's just end it.
Let's just end it now.
Yeah, we'll just restart it. We'll get back on.
Yeah, we'll be right back, guys. I'm sorry. God fucking damn me.
We'll see you fellas in like 2 minutes.
Sí, en 2 minutos. Que puse el enlace de el chat.